20-year-old homemaker Autumn Platts is suing the father of her child, 21-year-old car wholesaler Brian Nice, for the cost of a car and unpaid rent. Autumn also says Brian punched a hole into the wall of their apartment.
Yeah, this is case number 63 on the county in the matter of Platts versus Nice. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
How old are you, Miss Platts?
20 years old.
And you, sir?
21.
Well, the two of you decided to play house together. You moved in, you had a couple of dollars, you put $1,500 towards a used car that was purchased, then you had a baby, and then you decided that this family life was not for you right now, so you left. And what you want is you want your $1,500 back that you put down on the car because he took the car with him.
Yes.
You want him to pay some more money for rent because he left, leaving you with a lease.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you say that he caused some damage to the apartment?
Yes, Brian
Caused some damage to the apartment. He says, well, there's plenty of security deposit to take care of that. He says that the car is his. It's in his name. It's titled in his name. It's registered in his name. It's his car. He had every right to take it. Doesn't deny that you put in the $1,500, right?
Correct.
He said that was a gift. And as
Your
far
Honor,
as the
that
rent,
was not a gift.
And as far as the rent is concerned, he said he was a really nice guy because he paid November and December's rent.
Correct.
Even though he only lived there part of November, and the rest you have to take care of. Right? Good.
No,
okay.
Your Honor.
How old is the baby?
10 months.
Who do you live with now?
The baby and I live together in our apartment.
In the same apartment?
Yes.
Are you working?
Currently, no.
Who's paying the rent on the apartment?
I've been using the baby's Christmas money, Catholic Charities help me, and my tax return money I've been using, and my parents have been helping me out.
How far do you live from your parents?
Maybe 3 miles.
And you don't want to go home?
No. It's my responsibility, my daughter. It is not my parents to take care of my daughter and I.
Well, but you said that they've been helping you. My question is, is there a reason that you wouldn't go home with your daughter?
No. Just that I'm independent with my daughter. This is our home.
Well, you're not independent. Miss Platts, let me explain something to you, darling, sweetheart, little girl. You're not independent if Catholic Charities are supporting you, your parents are supporting you, you're using the baby's money, which was not intended to use for your rent. That doesn't make you independent. That makes you dependent on a whole bunch of people. Independence means that you're able to take care of yourself. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
There's a difference between being independent, and just because you're living in an apartment not with your family, and being independent because you're taking care of yourself and your responsibilities.
Well, I was working prior to Brian.
I was.
And
I used to be a natural blonde. Do you understand? That's used to be. It's never a natural blonde. Get me riled. What are you doing with yourself?
I work full-time.
And how much money do you contribute towards your daughter? It's not an answer.
I pay child support. They take
How much?
$120 a week.
I have not received any.
And I
Don't just think that you can pop in here and speak. You cannot. When I look in your direction or ask you a question, you can speak. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
Good. When did you start to pay $120 a week?
It went into effect about 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay. And you left in November.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's say 6 months. How much did you give her for 6 months?
I don't know offhand. Money
Let's
here,
think.
and,
No,
here
just
and
a
there.
second. Offhand? I'm going to give you a second to think.
Okay.
When you moved out in November, how much money did you give her?
I paid the rent for November.
Good. Anything else?
No.
December?
I paid the rent also in December.
Anything else?
No.
January?
Nothing.
Nothing. February?
No.
March?
Nothing.
April?
Nothing.
Were you working?
Yes, ma'am.
Why weren't you giving her money?
Because I didn't feel that I should have to pay her rent any longer.
I'm not talking about paying her rent. I'm talking about giving her money to support your daughter.
I give her money here and there
Here and there is what?
when I have extra money to give.
No. Is your last name Nice?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Nice, what kind of work do you do?
I work for a Chevy dealership,
How many hours a week do you work?
about 45 to 50.
How would you feel if your employer said, I think we're going to pay you once in a while?
I wouldn't appreciate it.
Right. Why is that, sir? Because it's their responsibility to pay you for the hours that you worked. Is that right?
Absolutely.
That's a commitment that
Yep.
they made. You work, they pay, right?
Yes.
When you make a baby, you have a commitment, the same sort of responsibility. Not when you have extra money. Your baby eats before you do. We understand each other, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when you left Miss Platt's, she wasn't working. Is that right?
That's right.
And she was staying home and taking care of the baby.
Right.
Put your hand down. I'm not speaking to you. So when you left, you knew that unless you gave her support, she was going to have to find some other way of getting money, because daycare is expensive. So either she was going to stay home with the baby or put the baby in daycare and get a job, probably be a wash, right? So who did you think was going to support your baby?
Her.
How?
Find a job.
And who was going to take care of the baby?
A friend, babysitter.
And who was going to pay the friend or babysitter?
If she works, her.
And what about you?
Me too. I could
But you didn't?
I would help if she had a babysitter. I would help pay for it.
Did you tell her that?
Probably not.
Huh?
Have a good time. This one here.
Mr. Nice, did you use $1,500 of her money towards the purchase of this used car?
Yes, I did.
And how much was the car?
$2,500.
Where did you get the other $1,000 from?
I came up with it. My money.
What do you mean you came up with it?
I had money, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Autumn Platt says the father of her child, Brian Nice, owes for a car, his share of rent, and damage to their apartment. Autumn says Brian walked out on her and their baby.
Now, when you left, you took the car.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you purchase the car?
Last April.
So you had the car for less than a year when you left,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And this car was to be used for the two of you as a family. Is that right?
Correct.
That's why she gave you more money than you put in for the car, right?
Yes.
So what makes you think that you're entitled to that car?
It's titled, registered, insured. She doesn't even have a license to drive a car.
That doesn't answer the question, sir. Same situation existed when she gave you the $1,500.
Correct.
The expectation was that the car was going to be used as a family for you, for her, for the baby, right?
Right.
Okay, when was the baby born?
July.
And the car was purchased in April?
Yes.
Now, I want you to tell me about the damage to the house. First, who put down the security deposit?
Brian and I both put in $250 each for the security deposit.
What is the estimate of the damage to the apartment?
$217.50.
Well, then his half of the security deposit is going to cover the damage.
The holes are fixed now, and the bill is due. And I don't get the security deposit back until I move out of this apartment.
Get a job.
I start a job next week.
Perfect. He's not getting back his security deposit of $250. It's less than $250 to fix the holes that he put in the wall because he was angry. He had a temper flare-up. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So don't go back looking for your security deposit, sir. Do you understand?
Yes.
Because you've spent it. Now let's get to the rent. Do you intend to stay in this apartment?
Yes, I do.
And it is possible to break the lease on this apartment because you're not responsible for the apartment because you were underage when you moved into the apartment. I mean, you couldn't sign a contract. You have to be 21 to
No,
sign a
I
contract?
have a lease that Brian and I both signed.
How old were you when you signed it?
Oh, I was 19.
Did you speak to the landlord with regard to breaking the lease?
Yes, and we would still have to pay the rent.
No, that's not true.
Oh.
No, that's not true. What do you mean? Oh, I asked you if you spoke to the landlord. Did the landlord tell you that for
He
so
said
much
he would
money
take
you
us
could...
to court.
No, he wouldn't. Did you try to sublet the apartment?
It says in the lease that no one else can move into there.
No. It says that you cannot sublet it without written consent of the owner. That's what it says. But you choose to stay there.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Well, if you choose to stay there and he paid November and December's rent, then you have to cover the rest.
I have the bills that I have paid from January till May.
Good.
The rent.
Good.
But
That's what you
I
have to
had
do.
put in money, too, for November and December's rent also.
That's okay. You were living there.
Yes.
So?
But I feel he should have to pay me half the rent for them
No, he
months
doesn't.
because his name is on the lease.
No, he doesn't. Madam, if you decide, Miss Platts, to stay in the apartment and you have the ability to either sublet the apartment or for a fee terminate the lease, and you chose to stay in the apartment with your daughter so that you can be independent, then you pay the rent, not him. Do I make myself clear?
Yes.
Perfect. But you are entitled to your $1,500 back, because the $1,500 was not a gift over here to Prince Charming. The $1,500 was made with the expectation that both of you would be enjoying the car. Do I make myself clear, sir?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He has supervised visitations on Saturdays 12 to 2 for 2 months now, over 2 months, and he's shown up for 1.
I work Saturdays. It's hard to get the day off.
I want him drug tested because he does drugs.
I have to pass a drug test, which should not be a problem.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Yeager versus Sutton. Step forward, please.
Operations trainer Brenda Yeager is suing construction worker Albert Sutton for medical bills and pain and suffering on behalf of her 8-year-old son Jacob. Brenda says Jacob broke both of his arms when Albert threw him in the air and dropped him.
Why, Mr. Sutton, I hardly know what to say to you, sir. Bird, 30 seconds or less. I assume that this is the young man who was injured. They were playing a game, some sort of a game in a park. Miss Yeager is going to tell me, what kind of game was it?
Soccer practice.
Soccer practice. And Mr. Sutton has a child
Yes.
who was also at the soccer practice. And during a break in the activity, Mr. Sutton was playing with the kids. He is not a bad man. He is not an evil man. He's not a malicious man. He's just, let me be kind, short-sighted. So he was throwing his son up in the air, right?
Yes.
And when he got finished throwing his son up in the air and catching him, he threw up Mrs. Yeager's son. I mean, he didn't throw up Mrs. Yeager. He threw Mrs. Yeager's son up in the air. And he didn't catch him. And he fell and broke both arms. That's what happened. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And he was in casts, and he was out of commission for a while. When did this happen?
October 28th, 2003.
And Miss Yeager is suing Mr. Sutton for $5,000 for both their out-of-pocket medical expenses and for pain and suffering. So now that I've given you the backdrop, because this is not difficult, the facts were not difficult, they were almost conceded by the parties, Mr. Sutton, I will hear you.
When my son had his break, he asked me to throw him up in the air. I caught him. Other kids saw it. They asked their parents if they could do it. I threw up 4 or 5 other kids before I got the Jacob. Jacob, I threw up. He pushed off my chest. I couldn't catch him or get to him as quick as possible. And that's when he fell and hit the ground. But he asked his dad for permission, because my son even saw him go over and ask him and hurt him.
Did you give permission to Mr. Sutton to throw your son up in the air?
No, ma'am.
Tell me your name.
Matt Reisenbeck.
What did you hear, Matt?
I heard Jacob walk up to his dad, and he asked his dad, he said, "Dad, could that guy throw me up?" And his dad said, "Yeah."
Okay, I like analogies. Let's say you were a very experienced archer. And what you used to do with your son was you would have him sit under a tree and put an apple on top of his head. And split the apple in 2 with your bow and arrow. And your son was used to that. And he would sit there very quietly, very still, and you thought it was okay to do that. And then Jacob said, "Oh, I want to do that." And let's say I believe your son, which I don't, that he heard him go over to his father and said, "Could I sit under a tree and let Mr. Sutton put an apple on top of my head and try to knock it off with an arrow?" And his father, in some psychotic break, said, "Sure." And Jacob sat under the tree. He put an apple on his head. Unfortunately, Jacob wasn't as good at it as your son, and he zigged. And you got him instead of the apple. Whose fault would that be? Jacob's?
No, ma'am.
His father's?
No, ma'am.
You get my point? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't think that he did it on purpose. It was truly an accident.
I gave him the shirt off my back. I helped him until his mom got back to the field.
I got a phone call at home just stating that the accident had happened, and of course I immediately went to the field.
He threw me up in the air, like 7 feet in the air.
He had to have surgery the next day on both arms.
My soldier hit him, and then and then I fell.
I felt remorse.
We did notify Mr. Sutton and his family and his wife, and we never did receive responses back.
I lost her number from the soccer, and I couldn't get a hold of her.
Do not throw children. They're not toys. They're not balls. They're children. Do not throw them.
Lab technician Lori Theodorov is suing her sister, 23-year-old homemaker Jennifer Rector, and her fiancé Sean Huff for an unpaid loan and for the return of her property. Jennifer and Sean are countersuing for money from the sale of Lori's house, bank fees, and for putting sugar in their gas tank.
All rise. Yeah, that's case number 247 on the calendar, in the matter of Theodorov versus Rector Huff. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mrs. Theodorov, according to your complaint, the defendant, who is your sister, and the co-defendant, who is her fiancé, owe you some money for several things. First, a loan that you made to them for security deposit when they moved into an apartment. Second, some money for some bills that you loaned them. And finally, for the return or value of some personal property. Personal property consists of some furniture that you claim to have loaned them. And second, a ring set that you say was an heirloom from your mother given to you that you merely loaned to the defendant. Your last name is Huff?
Yes, sir. Ma'am.
In order to propose to your sister, and you were supposed to get it back.
That's correct.
And the defendants say that the money that you did give them was for babysitting for your daughter, that the furniture was furniture that you were going to throw out because you bought new stuff. And as far as the rings are concerned, the rings, your sister said, belongs to your mother, who is still alive, and she returned the rings to your mother. That the case? And then you have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim argues that because of some disagreement that you and your sister had, she has embarked upon a vendetta and put sugar in your gas tank and ruined your bank credit because she locked into your bank credit online and caused you to lose money, lose wages, whatever. Anyway, you have a counterclaim for harassment. You and your sister and her fiancé lived in a house that you owned for a period of time. Is that right?
Yes.
And when was that?
That was January of '03.
And how long had you been living with your sister?
Just from January '03 until
October of '03.
Yes.
What happened with the house?
When they had first moved in, we had, made arrangements for rent. I asked for $100 out of each of their paychecks, which totaled $400 a month. I was lucky to get that.
You lost the house, according to what you wrote in your complaint. When?
In June, I had said, okay, you guys, I will cover the mortgage payment. You guys cover the bills. The bills didn't get covered. In October, I was drowning in debt. I'd just been through a horrible divorce. I just said, I got to sell the house. I got to get out.
And how much money did you clear from the house?
$5,000.
And what did you do with the $5,000?
I paid the deposits on the apartment, rent.
Which deposits?
Both for my apartment and for their apartment.
Is that right?
I have a copy of that check.
Yes. Partly. And how much was the deposit on your apartment?
$500.
Why didn't you have your own $500 for security deposit?
Because we had been babysitting for her daughter for the entire year that we lived with her, almost a year. And she was supposed to pay us for that, and she never did. And she told us when she sold the house that she would pay our security deposit and give us $1,000 to pay our first month's rent and to get car insurance in order to clear the debt of watching her daughter.
And you say that never happened?
No.
Okay. How many rent checks do you have there for $400?
None of them are for $400.
We paid $100 out of each one of our paychecks.
Okay. How many $100 checks do you have to the plaintiff?
Approximately 10.
Now, may I see it, please? Of June 18th for $200. Well, so far, that's $1,150 that you have memorialized in rent, and you owe her $3,600 in rent.
Your Honor, during this time, we were a family. Cash kind of flowed back and forth. We never really thought that we would have to...
No. You cannot demonstrate to me that you don't owe her at the time you moved out of the house $2,450. Now, what about the other money that you gave them? Because according to your complaint, you gave them other money for bills.
I have another copy of some checks. And receipt. And these are bank statements with transfers documented on there from my account into their account. She would call me on my way home from work saying, Lori, the daycare check's going to bounce. Can you please put money in my account? And I always would. Because that's what your family's supposed to do for you, is to help you when you need help.
Well, when are you supposed to stop doing that?
When they hurt you like I've been hurt, I guess. I'll never do it again.
Okay, now let me hear about the furniture. Do you really want to proceed with this furniture? Did you loan them the furniture, or was it furniture that you were going to get rid of?
No, it was not going to get rid of. As a matter of fact, when I asked for the dresser and queen set back, I was going to use it for my roommate when I moved into another home. And she goes, oh, so you'll let your roommate use it, but not your sister. I paid for the freezer. Super Bowl Sunday, we were at Home Depot, and I paid for it.
We paid for half of the freezer, but I do not have proof of that because I gave her cash.
Oh, she didn't.
Where's the freezer?
It's still on our patio, and we told her she could come get it at any time.
Why is that on your patio? Is that where you kept it?
Yeah, it's a chest freezer. It's the only place it'll fit.
Oh, fine. She's coming to get it. Make sure it's in good shape. She's coming to get it. Now let's get to the ring set.
The ring set that she's claiming isn't hers, was never hers. It was loaned to her by her mother. I have a sworn statement from her mother with a doctor's note as to why she couldn't be here.
I'd like to see it. Okay, your mother who signed this notarized letter. I'll let you read it. Your mother says that she loaned you the rings when you became engaged and then married, and now she's loaned them to your sister, and she certainly expects to have them back.
Mm-hmm.
They're in her possession now.
And they are in her possession now?
Yes, they are.
Okay, fine. So let's forget about the rings. Now, I want you to tell me about your counterclaim.
Okay. On July 3rd, my witness, Kelly Pruitt, saw Lori Theodoroff break into my bank account on her computer upstairs.
Okay. Step up. Tell me your name.
Kelly Pruitt.
Miss Pruitt, how do you know these two people?
I worked with Lori Theodoroff at Kaiser Hospital, and we became friends. And I was living with her for 2 months. And on July 3rd, the day before we were moving out, she had confronted me about putting a listening device in Jennifer's apartment.
You put a listening device?
Yes. And had overheard Jennifer and I talking about helping her ex-husband to try to get her daughter, Sarah, so he can have full custody because Lori is not a fit mother.
And so I assume you had an argument?
Yes, she had confronted me and was very upset with me.
And what did you say to her?
It's true. I mean, I couldn't deny it. I do not believe how she treats her daughter is to be a fit mother. It's just not right.
Go ahead.
And so she got on the computer, and there were still bank statements in the computer from when Jennifer and Sean would make payments online. And so she charged over $1,000 worth of money online so their rent check would bounce.
Did you say anything to her when you found that she broke into her sister's account?
I said, why are you doing this?
And what did
they
she
could lose
answer?
their home. You're hurting Jennifer, not only Jennifer, but Sean and their son.
And what did she say?
She said, I wonder what else I can do. And then that's when she said maybe I could put gas in her sugar tank, and laughed about it and said, I wonder what else I can find out to do to hurt them.
Do you recall going into your sister's bank?
No. I don't even know their password or their account number. Well, I know now because it's written on the check that I gave you. I don't know. And I really feel that Kelly's lying because I also have a suit against her for money that we moved into this duplex together. I fronted all of the money, $1,600. I was supposed to get the money from her on July 24th. I came home from work. She was moved out. And I'm sure that this is where these lies are coming from.
Okay. Do you have a police report with regard to the bank statement?
Yes.
Okay. Can I see it, please?
I also have the payment activity from that day from our bank.
And Kelly agreed to come on here.
When did you say she moved out?
July 24th.
Well,
May I say
really,
something?
just a second. I really have to tell you, Miss Theodorov, that the dates here don't gel with your statement. Because according to you, she moved out the end of July, which is when there was confrontation. She was supposed to get you money, and it wasn't until the end of July you came home and found her gone.
Right.
Right? And subsequently you sued her, which
Yes.
is why you say she's lying about this. Well, but the report date on this to the Sacramento Sheriff's Department is July 4th, which is well before that. So it is unlikely that since you didn't file a lawsuit against her July 4th, that this testimony today, which is consistent with her police report, was not in retaliation for your lawsuit against her. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I believe so, yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today, Lori Theodorov says her sister Jennifer Rector and her fiancé Sean Huff owe for a loan and for the return of property.
What else? Give me the rest. The gas tank.
The gas tank, she had told, as Kelly said, that she wanted to hurt me as badly as possible. And so the Tuesday after she moved into her duplex, my car broke down. Well, Lori had picked me up from the daycare where I was stranded and helped me get my car to a shop. Well, then all of this happened, and I found out about her breaking into my account, and I got very angry. And so because I was angry at her, she called the company, the shop where my car was, and told them not to fix it because I wouldn't be able to pay for it. And then I'd had the car back for 4 days, and I found sugar in my gas tank, and I took it straight to the police station and filed a police report.
I'd like to see the police report.
They picked a partial print, but they could not, it wasn't good enough to...
Right. Okay, so this is your statement. Nobody saw her put sugar in the tank. And I'm sure that you will tell me that you didn't do anything to their gas tank.
No, I did not.
Okay. All right, I have that you owe her $2,200, which is for the bills that she paid for you and the $500 deposit. Ms. Theodorov, I believe that you, as it happens, did exactly what Ms. Pruitt says with regard to the computer. I don't think that they have any proof that you, sufficient proof that you did anything to your sister's gas tank, but I certainly think that I am satisfied with her statement that you did, in fact, go into the computer and mess around with it. And how much did that cost you?
It ended up not costing us very much, only about $50.
Okay.
For canceling checks.
Okay. But as far as I'm concerned, there has to be some penalty for that. You understand me?
Yes.
Yeah. Because you can't do that vindictively. I mean, if you do that, you can go to jail for that. So, on your counterclaim for harassment, I am awarding you $500, which is 10 times the $50 that it cost you to reinstate your bank balance to what it should have been and to remove any penalties that have been placed on your account. You still owe your sister $1,700. Pay her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Jennifer needs to learn that she can't mooch off people for the I mean, that's all she's done her entire life is mooch.
I have seen her hit and pull her daughter's hair and call her stupid and fat.
This has put a black spot on my heart, and I don't know that if somebody came to me and asked for help if I'd be able to do it.
What makes her such a good liar is she convinces herself that her lies are true well before she tells anyone else.
I mean, I love her, she's my sister, but I don't think I could help her anymore.
If I see her on the side of the road hitchhiking, I'm not going to pick her up because she'll just try to hurt me some more.
Construction worker David Falk is suing the mother of his child, homemaker Tammy Williams, and her husband Steve for attorney fees due to a restraining order. The Williams are countersuing, claiming David filed false charges with Child Protective Services.
This is case number 219 on the calendar in the matter of Falk versus Williams.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Mr. Falk, you and Mrs. Williams had a relationship for a brief period of time, I understand from your papers, while her husband was incarcerated.
Yes, ma'am.
And as a result of that relationship, you have a child, a son.
Yes, ma'am.
Her husband was released from prison, and it is your claim that after you made attempts to see your son, They filed false charges of stalking and harassment against you. You want the costs that you incurred as a result of those proceedings. Mr. and Mrs. Williams say that everything that they said in those petitions were true, that you were annoying, harassing, stalking them, that the reason the case was dismissed was because for some legitimate reason they couldn't make it to the hearing. But everything that they said was true. And they are counterclaiming because they say that you called Child Protective Services and made allegations against them as parents of your son.
Yes.
Okay. When did you go to jail, Mr. Williams?
April of 2002.
And how long had you and Mrs. Williams been married up until that point?
We've been married since 1997.
You have children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many children do you have?
3 children together.
When did you start to see Mr. Falk?
Possibly about 2 years ago.
Give me the month and year. Don't ask him, he was in jail.
I was in jail.
Do you know Mr. Falk?
I think it was around September, somewhere in there.
September of 2002?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When was your son born, Mr. Falk?
October 9th, 2003.
Now, when were you released from jail, Mr. Williams?
June the 1st of this year, 2004.
Did you know about this new baby that came into the family?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you find out about this new baby?
I had actually found out while she was pregnant. She did write me and tell me about the relationship between her and Mr. Falk. That is when we started reconciling. We had been separated for a little while I was in prison.
You mean you were separated before you went to prison?
No, when I went to prison, she split up with me because I went back to prison because she told me if I went to prison, she couldn't handle the situation.
How many times have you been to prison, sir?
I've been to prison twice. This was a probation violation, what I went back for.
What were you violated for?
Not paying monies, and I
Not
couldn't
paying
pay the
monies to what?
restitutions on the case.
Not paying restitution? You were violated for not making restitution in what kind of case, sir?
Obtaining property by false pretense, checks, worthless and bad checks.
So how many times were you arrested for writing bad checks?
Several times. I went through a period, I wrote the checks over a period of time.
Over a period of what time?
1998, 1997.
2 years?
Yes, ma'am.
So this wasn't a one-shot deal where you wrote a couple of bad checks and you were arrested?
They were wrote over a few months period, but over 2 years I kept, as they come in and
So
would go
they
to
were
court.
written over a period of time?
Yes, ma'am.
And you cashed them over a period of time?
Yes, ma'am.
As I said, this was not a one-shot deal.
No, ma'am.
All right.
You're correct.
So that's what your wife... You always get there.
Yeah.
So that's what your wife is saying. She said to you, if you get arrested again, we're finished.
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds right to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, after your husband was released from jail, you decided to reconcile. Is that right, Miss Williams?
Yes.
That was in June, so that your baby was 8 months old.
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you do?
I accepted my husband for him to come into the home. We worked it out, and everything's...
And what did you do about Mr. Falk and his wanting to see his son?
Mr. Falk has never called. He's only made harassing phone calls or drive by the house.
When did he ask to see his son?
He never has, Your Honor.
Was he present when the child was born?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, there we go. That's a one thing. So when the child was born, he was there.
Yes, Your Honor.
And where did you go after you left the hospital when the child was born?
I think I went to his house.
So you lived with him for a period of time with the child?
He lived with me in my house. We just...
Fine. He lived with you for a period of time after the child was born?
After the child was born, I don't think he was.
Did you ever spend the night with her after your son was born?
Yeah, I did, because we went down to my mother's house for Thanksgiving and spent the night down there. So we did.
That was in November of 2003, when the baby was just about a month old.
Yes,
you remember that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So I would assume that for a period of time before your husband got out of jail, there was regular communication between the two of you. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
There we go. That's what I'm trying to get at. Before your husband got out of jail, there was regular communication with Mr. Falk. He was there when the baby was born, took you home from the hospital, you went to visit his mother Thanksgiving time, you went with the baby. Did you take your other children with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, so what happened? Why did you stop allowing him regular contact with his son?
I felt that it was it was nice for him to see his son, just being a nice mother.
Why did you stop him from seeing his son?
I don't know.
Well, did that coincide with the time when your husband was released from prison?
It wasn't around that time. He was still in prison.
Why did you stop him from seeing his son?
Because I had got this ex parte violence protective order.
Let me see it. That doesn't answer my question, Miss Williams. There was a period of time when everything was okay and he was seeing his son and you were visiting his mother and you were traveling as a family practically. Now, something happened when you decided not to let him see his son.
Because he was calling me, making threatening calls.
Something happened before that. You're down visiting his mother in November for Thanksgiving. Christmas. What happened?
I just wanted to end the relationship.
That's right. You wanted to end the relationship. And did you tell him that?
Not so many words, Your Honor.
What words did you use, Mrs. Williams?
I was mostly avoiding him.
Right. And when you were mostly avoiding him, that means he couldn't see his son. Right? Because you had the child in your custody.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you getting where I'm going?
Yes, Your Honor.
She wanted to end the relationship. She didn't tell him she wanted to end the relationship. She just started to avoid him.
She's leaving half the stuff out. She's
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
I've been around longer than you've been born. We understand each other.
Yes,
this is
ma'am.
not a new story, just
ma'am.
new faces on the story.
Yes, ma'am.
She wanted to end it because you and she, according to you, were coming together.
Mm-hmm.
She wrote you about the baby. You decided to reconcile. She had to break it off. She didn't want to make any trouble by telling him she wanted to break it off, so she just didn't take his phone calls, which means he couldn't see his child. So he started calling her on the telephone. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out, Mr. Williams. That's what happened. So then she goes and files this protective order, and she says, he's harassing me. He's driving by my house. He's leaving threatening messages. Well, what did you expect him to do if you wouldn't let him see his child? Did you expect him to go away?
No, Your Honor.
Well, what did you expect him to do? Now, when your husband got out of prison, your husband put his name on the baby's birth certificate. Is that right, Mr. Williams?
Yes.
And you did that knowing that you were not this child's father, and you did that for the explicit purpose of seeing to it that Mr. Falk did not see his son and was not... Oh. Well, what other reason could there have been... What other reason could there have been, Mr. Williams, for you, knowing that you were not the child's father, to put your name on the child's birth certificate instead of the child's father's name?
He never accepted from day one while he was at the hospital to be allowed on the birth certificate. He refused to be put on the birth certificate.
I want to explain something to you, Mr. Williams. That is a lie.
No.
Because as long as she's married to somebody else, he is not permitted by law to put his name on the birth certificate unless he is adjudicated by a court as the father of the child. I'm 10 steps ahead of you, sir.
Okay.
He took the child home from the hospital. He was there when the child was born. A month later, he went to visit his mother with your wife and your 3 children for Thanksgiving. A month after that, he went to his mother's home for Christmas with your 3 children and the child. And then your wife decides to go back with you. She avoids his telephone calls. He gets miserable and frustrated. You get out of prison, you say, we're going to resolve this once and for all. I'm going to put my name on the child's birth certificate. That's going to cut him off. Well, it didn't cut him off.
May I respond to that, please?
Yeah, you sure may.
He is trying to disrupt us and split us up because he wants Tammy back. I don't have any problem
He doesn't
with
want her
being
back.
father.
Trust me. He doesn't want her back. His mother doesn't want her back. Your wife fooled around while you were in jail.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I make a comment on that, please?
Sure.
I was in church. I was vulnerably hurt. He took advantage of that situation.
Madam, you were married and had 3 children. Nobody took advantage of you. Nobody forced you. Nobody tied you to a bed. You got it? Take responsibility for your own actions. You have to behave in an orderly fashion, which is, if you have a relationship with somebody and you make a baby with them, You don't decide like this that I'm going to cut him off, which is what you did, without an explanation, without a sit down, without a discussion. Say, listen, we have to end this relationship because I'm going to go back to my husband. That doesn't mean that I'm going to take the baby away from you. Let's go to court. You'll be declared the father of the baby. We'll set up a visitation schedule. You'll be able to visit with him when you like. Instead, you decide just not to answer your phone. That's what you told me. And then when he gets annoyed and starts making harassing phone calls, you go to court and you get an ex parte protective order against him. And then when it's set for trial, you don't show up. And it's dismissed. Those are the costs he wants.
Excuse me.
She didn't show up. Now, you say she had a really good reason for not showing up. Show me a doctor's record that she was in a hospital.
Actually, we were in Superior Court in another county.
For what?
A 4-year-old check that they're trying to bring up now that I've paid off.
That didn't stop her from going to court, sir.
She was the witness in my case.
Did you notify the court?
Yes, we did.
Show me where you notified the court before.
I didn't know I needed it today.
Well, where'd you think you were coming to, a tea dance?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today, David Falk says the mother of his child, Tammy Williams, falsely accused him of stalking and harassment. David also claims Tammy and her husband won't let him see his son.
What were your costs with regard to defending this action for a protective order?
$3,800. I had to hire a lawyer.
Let me see the lawyer's bill. Did you pay this bill?
I paid $1,800 so far.
Mr. Falk, what arrangements are you trying to make legally to get to visit with this child?
Try to get complete custody of him. I've got that filed now.
Did they order blood tests?
We're in the process of getting that done now, too. It's got to be a court order because she refuses to give DNA.
No.
No what?
We were actually told by our attorneys that he was wanting to drop this now because I'm willing to take responsibility for the child and be the child's father.
That right, sir?
I don't know. It's still
that
pending.
From his
it's pending
attorney,
August the 22nd.
So what you're telling me now, Mrs. Williams, listen to me very carefully, is if the court wants you to go for a blood test, you are consenting to go for a DNA test with this baby?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Do you understand? Now, as part of this proceeding, there is a counterclaim. The counterclaim suggests, Mr. Falk, that you called Child Protective Services on them. Show me.
We did have the letter, and we cannot find that cleared her.
I just want, listen to me, I just want proof that he called Child Protective Services and it was false.
That's the one thing we did not have. Sorry.
Well, Mr. Williams, I can't help you, sir.
I know.
Okay. You owe him $3,500, which is what he paid for his lawyer for this bogus case that you filed against him, Miss Williams. Listen to me very carefully. You made a mistake. You had an affair while your husband was away. He's the father of this child, according to you. He wants to see this child. He wants to be part of this child's life. Now, that may be inconvenient for you because you are now reconciled with your husband. That doesn't mean you can cut him off. If he chooses not to be a good father, if he chooses not to support the child once he has an order of visitation, and if he chooses to abandon this child, then you can cut him off. But you can't decide to do that on your own. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's made frivolous things that I am abusive to my wife and children.
She had told everybody in the church her husband was abusive towards her and the kids.
He shot his ex-wife.
She was the one chasing after me.
Because he's beat her, she's scared to say anything.
She told me she wasn't going to go back to her husband, and, you know, he was so mean.
I can't take my children to shopping in the same county we live in.
The Lord will take care of it, and he did. The Lord brought it out right here.
21-year-old student Kaylin Zilmer is suing her ex-roommate, 21-year-old student Jennifer Zemlicka, for breaking an apartment lease. Jennifer says Kaylin's partying made living with her unbearable.
Yeah, this is case number 269 on the calendar in the matter of Zilmer versus Zemlicka. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, huh?
Ms. Zilmer, how long did you room with the defendant while you were in college?
We have lived together for 2 years.
And then according to your complaint, you recently signed another year's lease.
Right.
And the defendant moved out prior to that second lease starting, leaving you to pay 14 months rent.
Right.
On your own.
Yep.
The year on the new lease plus 2 months on the old lease. And Ms. Zemlica says that she absolutely moved out because you invited people to the house, you had underage drinking parties, people either stole her property and or damaged her property. It was really unsafe for her to stay there, and that you should have tried to get a new roommate for the new lease or gone to the landlord, tried to negotiate out of the lease, but she is certainly not responsible. When did you, Ms. Zemlica, start to have problems with the plaintiff with regard to who she was bringing into the apartment?
The first incident where I began to feel that things were unsafe occurred on January 25th, 2004. During that weekend, I was not present at the apartment. I had gone to my hometown, to my parents' house, and during that weekend, Kaylin Zilmer had several people over, and there was an underage drinking party that occurred.
How did you know that?
I know that because I was told by both the plaintiff and by a mutual acquaintance of mine.
Well, you can't tell me anything about the mutual acquaintance. Did you have a discussion with Ms. Zilmer?
Yes, I did.
About it? Tell me about the discussion.
I came back from my weekend away, and she told me that she had had 2 friends over and that they had been drinking, and that they had been drinking quite profusely. And one of the
she didn't say that. She didn't say they'd been drinking. Listen to me.
Okay,
Ms.
she
Zemlica,
said that they had been drinking.
Okay, Ms. Zemlica, don't embellish. If you embellish, I think you're lying, and if you're lying, I'm not interested in hearing you. Do you understand?
Okay. Yes.
All right, that was January 25th. Let's move on.
Your Honor, there was another event that occurred on January 25th that concerned me. Jason was there, and he drank so much that he vomited blood in the bathroom. The paramedics were called. 911 was called. Although all 3 of them were underage, no tickets were issued.
Not true, Your Honor.
January 25th, what happened?
I gave no alcohol to this person who came over.
Well, who was the person?
He brought his own alcohol.
Who was the person?
It's a mutual friend of ours.
And he was drinking so much he got really sick.
You're right, and we did call 911.
Okay, fine. What's happened next?
After January 25th, although the incident worried me, I figured it was a one-time event.
Let's get on.
Okay, sorry.
I have other things to do today.
During the week of April 26, 2004 to May 2nd, 2004, Kaylin had a friend staying at the apartment for the duration of the week. And during this entire week, my room door was closed. I would come home at the end of the day. Things would be rearranged. I was accused of things I didn't do. I would get up in the morning, leave to go to my student teaching assignment, and I would come back at the end of the day, and Kaylin's guest would say to me, well, what the hell were you doing? Why were you slamming doors this morning? I wasn't slamming doors.
Okay, next. Move on.
Next. She had an underage drinking party on May 1st, 2004. During this underage drinking party, chairs belonging to me were broken. A fight occurred that I was told about by both Kaylin and Mindy.
Okay, so you weren't happy. When did you move out?
On or around June 14th, 2004.
When had you signed a new lease?
In the middle of March.
So March you signed the new lease, and when was the term of that lease?
The term of that lease was set to begin on August 15th, 2004.
And you moved out in June?
Correct.
Why didn't you get a new roommate?
Ms. Zemlica had left a note for me the last day she moved out saying she'd be back in August.
Can I see it, please?
And aside from that note and all...
Home for the summer, back on Sunday for the rest of my stuff, back for good in August. When did you write this note?
When I left in June.
Well, if you left in June, were you intending to come back?
At that point, I was, because I had not yet talked to my lawyer.
You see, Ms. Zemlica, if you were moving out for cause and you wrote her a note and say, I no longer consider it safe here, please try to get a new roommate in June or in May, because a lot of these things happened in May, I would say to the plaintiff, listen, you have an obligation to mitigate your damages. In June, the possibility exists for her to still get another roommate. But if she's holding off because you've assured her that you're coming back in August, that's unreasonable. You were fooling her, right? You're her father?
Yes, I am, Judge.
Sure. You were fooling her. You were saying, I don't know what to... You can move over. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but I want an opportunity to speak to my lawyer, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do. Now, when did you finally tell her that you were not going to move back?
I sent notice.
When?
June 23rd, 2004. I have a copy of the letter right here.
Let me have it. Where's the notification that you sent to the plaintiff?
I did not send notification to the plaintiff.
Why not? June 23rd, you sent notification to the Capitol Center Apartments.
Because
why didn't you send her notice?
I did not send her notification because things had deteriorated so rapidly and so far at that point that I did not feel safe talking to her anymore. I had received...
Nobody asked you to talk to her. What you have to do is send her a notice. And you never did.
I did not. However, my parents were in contact with her parents and did inform her mother that I would not be moving back in.
How do I know that? That's hearsay.
No, Judge, I talked to her mother. I'm Jennifer's father, and I did talk to her mother and said it's no longer capable of being resolved. Kaylin doesn't want to talk to Jennifer. Jennifer does not feel safe there, so there's nothing that can be done except to move out.
Your Honor, my hearsay was that he had talked to my 18-year-old brother, and that my mom actually talked to...
Just a second. They did the wrong thing. You may have done the wrong thing by having these people over that she didn't want over her home when she's not there. You understand that. But you have absolutely no right to first send her a letter indicating that you were coming back in August, despite the fact that there had been problems, so you were tricking her. Then you went to see a lawyer. Your lawyer gave you whatever advice the lawyer gave you. As a result of that, you did have the good sense to send a notice to the apartment complex. Did you get an answer from the apartment complex?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Let me see the answer.
They did not contact me in writing. They contacted me through a voicemail.
No. That's hearsay. Because if they were going to let you out of the lease so that she was no longer responsible under the terms of that lease, it would have been in writing. And you did not get that. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Kaylin Zillmer says ex-roommate Jennifer Zemlicka owes for breaking their apartment lease. Jennifer says it wasn't a safe place to live.
Your Honor, I was also sent a letter by Kaylin Zillmer claiming that she was responsible for the lease and for the rent because she was still living there. And that's, I received in July.
That would be my half of the rent.
Of course she's still responsible because she's still living there. That doesn't mean you're not responsible. You wouldn't be responsible if you did the right thing. You did the wrong thing.
I believed I needed to move out to protect my own personal safety.
I don't disagree with you. Not your own personal safety. It had become uncomfortable for you to live there. Put your hand down. It had become uncomfortable for you to live there, and you have an absolute right not to live someplace where you're uncomfortable. You don't have the right to trick her, which you did. You tricked her into thinking that you were coming back at a time when this is, I assume, a college town where people look for apartments up until the end of the school year. You led her to believe that you were, in fact, coming back in August. She did not seek another roommate. You notified the apartment complex of your intention not to come back, but you never notified her. You could have just as soon sent her a copy of the letter. Then you would have put her on notice. Then I would have said, now listen, you have the obligation to mitigate your damages starting in June. You may not be able to find a roommate right away. Maybe she's only liable for 6 months' rent or 3 months' rent until you find a roommate.
And Your Honor,
but you didn't do the right thing. You can't just walk out. Now, who's living in the apartment?
I am, Your Honor.
Who else?
Just me.
What efforts have you made since you were notified that she was not intending to come back to try to find another roommate?
I have been to different websites. I have left up flyers around campus. I have a website to roommates.com, so I have made efforts to cover her half of the rent.
Just a second. And what's the rent on the apartment?
It's $940 a month.
When were you notified that she was not going to move back to the apartment?
In August.
Are you telling me that you didn't know until August that she wasn't coming back? Is that what you're telling me?
That's right.
Okay. Where do you live?
I live, Kelly Zillmer. I live down the road from Kaylin.
Who do you live with?
I live with 4 other girls.
When did you sign your lease on that place?
Well, we signed the lease in December for the upcoming year starting in August. So our lease started August 15th and runs till August 14th next year.
And if you could find another roommate at your house, you could move in with your sister. Is that right?
Well,
there's not many people looking for roommates anymore since college started.
Well, people come in January, do they not?
Yeah.
Sure they do. So we have September, October, November, December, January. That's 5 months, right? She's got to pay you for 5 months. You did not give her adequate notice. You gave her, as a matter of fact, no notice whatsoever of your intention to move. It was only through a third party that she found out that you did not intend to come back. You cannot do that. She's obligated to pay for the rent, and she's the one who's suffering for it because you evidently found another place to live. You're paying nothing, and she's paying for both of you. That's unreasonable. You have a right to move out of the apartment if you feel unsafe. You also have an obligation to give her notice of your intention and not to trick her, which you did. You tricked her, and you can't do that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,350. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was concern for my personal safety and also concern with the irresponsible acts that were going on, that they might negatively impact my teaching career and my future in the teaching profession.
I am not a big drinker. I do not keep drinks in the house. I have never used drugs. So I don't really know where this all stemmed from.
Some people just aren't compatible when it comes to living together.
I'm just real happy it's over.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Baker versus Williams. Step forward, please.
23-year-old cocktail waitress April Baker is suing her ex-boyfriend's sister, 26-year-old medical secretary Angela Williams, for the return of her belongings. Angela says April stole her car.
Ms. Baker, you used to live in the apartment or the home of the defendant, who is the sister of your former boyfriend. Is that right?
Your Honor.
And this is the former boyfriend?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you claim that you were forced to move out because there was some sort of an altercation or an argument. And when you moved out, the defendant kept a lot of your property. You want to be compensated to the tune of $2,000 for that property. When did you move in with them?
It was May.
Why did you move in with them?
I was seeing her brother, so I decided that when I came back from vacation, I would move back in to the same area with them.
Where were you working?
I wasn't working at that very present time.
Immediately prior to that very present time, when was your last employment?
Before I moved to Worcester.
Give me a month and a year.
Okay, that would have been in February of 2004.
And what kind of work were you doing in February of 2000?
I was hostessing in a Greek restaurant in Tennessee.
When you moved from Tennessee to where?
To Worcester.
And how did you get there?
I took a bus.
How many suitcases did you have?
Your Honor, they weren't suitcases. They were very big Tupperware containers with lids.
And what was in the 2 Tupperware containers?
One of the containers contained all of my shoes and boots, and the other one contained all of my clothing belongings.
And when you left their house, what did you take with you?
Absolutely nothing, except for what I had on my person.
Do you have any of her property?
No, ma'am.
Where is it?
As far as I know, she took it with her when she stole my vehicle.
What month was that?
That was in July.
What do you mean she stole your vehicle?
She did take it, said that she'd be back, and never came back.
She didn't come back?
No, ma'am.
How long did she remain away?
She was gone that whole night, the whole next day. I finally got a phone call telling me that I could find my keys at her new boyfriend's house, and my car was at her job. So I had to find a ride to get my keys and my vehicle.
That sound familiar to you?
Vaguely, that is...
Not vaguely. Does that sound familiar to you?
That is pretty much the case, but not all the way, no. But yes. And
so if you left, say, July 1st or 2nd, in her car, and you didn't come back, and you went to a new boyfriend's house, you're telling me that you just left with the clothes on your back and you didn't take anything with you?
Absolutely, Your Honor. I didn't leave to a new boyfriend's house. I left in the middle of the night. It was midnight Thursday, July the 2nd.
Where did you go?
I went to a friend's house to have a couple of drinks. I got intoxicated and did not drive back to her house because I'm not going to drive her car intoxicated. I did have her car dropped to my work so that she could pick it up. And the keys were where she said they were at that same person's house. But it was not, I did not take any of my belongings with me. I did not plan on being gone or not coming back. I did not steal her car.
Step up. What's your name?
Brian. Brian Williams.
Mr. Williams, do you have any of Miss Baker's property?
No, I do not.
Look at me. Did you throw it away?
No, I did not.
Do you know of anyone who threw it away?
No, I do not.
Well, I think you probably do. I think you probably either tossed her stuff or got rid of some of her stuff because you were annoyed with her. But you have to have some proof of that. She says she doesn't have your clothing. How do I know that she
She
didn't
had
take it
her
with you?
boyfriend come to my house and say, DYS appreciates your donation. That's the local juvenile facility.
Really? Did you say that to her?
No, ma'am.
Did you say
Her
anything?
boyfriend said that to me.
Did you say it to anyone?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. Miss Williams, I have a feeling that you probably kept some of her stuff, and maybe you donated because you were really annoyed with her. That I can understand.
No, I did not, Your Honor.
Well, somebody did. Let me see what you have there. Okay. Okay. $361, the legitimate bills that I have that you can establish here. Now, I don't know whether and how much they didn't return, but I know that you didn't return some stuff because I know you were annoyed. That's just common sense, that if she left there, you found some of her stuff there, and I believe that you did return some of her stuff.
Everything was gone when she stole my car, Your Honor. I don't
What?
owe her anything.
No, you're full of baloney. Don't believe you. I also don't believe that she had $2,000 worth of clothes because she didn't have a job.
Your Honor.
Maybe $360 worth of stuff. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $360. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's wearing my clothes and my shoes right now.
They're lies just like everything else.
They stole my stuff.
She took them when she stole my vehicle.
I just didn't want to be around them anymore.
Probably still has it. Or left it at a different boyfriend's house.
Contractor David Oravec is suing his ex-wife, 26-year-old Maria Oravec, for falsely accusing him of abusing their children. David says Maria is currently engaged to his brother, Daniel.
Yeah, this is case number 266 on the calendar in the matter of Oravec versus Oravec. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
Mr. Oravec, the defendant is your former wife.
Yes, ma'am.
How long were you married?
Almost 7 years.
And you have 2 children.
Yes, we do.
Recently divorced, and you, after a custody trial, you obtained custody of the 2 children. How old are they?
5 and 7 years, ma'am.
Your lawsuit claims, Mr. Oravec, that your wife has embarked upon a campaign to file allegations alleging domestic violence, alleging abuse of the children, etc., causing you to spend a substantial amount of money for attorneys. All of those allegations were ultimately dismissed, proven unfounded, and you want your former wife to compensate you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Oravec says that everything she said was true, and she is a good mother, and she has an absolute responsibility to report any instances of abuse of her children and abuse of herself. I gather from your complaint that this situation is exacerbated by the fact that your former wife is now either living with or engaged to be married to your brother. That's you. Is that right?
Yes.
Are you twins?
No.
No. How far apart are you?
2
in
years.
age? And I assume you don't speak.
No.
For how long?
Since the affair was found in my house.
And when was that?
Back in February last year.
And when were you divorced?
The divorce was entered in June 2nd, 2003.
And when were you ultimately awarded custody of the children?
Custody was done June 23rd. It was filed of 2004.
Between June of 2003 and June of 2004, with whom were the children living?
They were living with her primary.
There was a custody trial?
No, ma'am. There was a settlement.
And what did you agree to in the settlement, Ms. Oravec?
I agreed to maintain joint custody with David, as well as switching primary residency over to him on information that the law guardian had given me, stating that he was not allowed to make any changes regarding the children without first clarifying it with me.
Don't qualify what you're saying to me. You agreed that the children's primary custodian would be their father.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Can I say something? Right? The reason that we went to court is because there's 8 circumstances which warrant a change of custody of emotional abuse towards the children, and we agreed upon this because she agreed upon it because she didn't want to go to trial.
I assume, Mr. Oravec, that the recommendation of the children's attorney
Yes.
was that the children be in your primary physical
Yes, they were,
custody.
Your Honor.
And that would have been dispositive, in all probability, at a hearing. Otherwise, was there any other reason that you gave up physical custody of the children?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you had had physical custody of the children for a year.
I was too afraid of the punishment I might get if I hadn't given up custody of them.
That, madam, is baloney.
You may think so, ma'am, but it's not.
Baloney. Okay. Let's get to the first allegation, sir, that caused you to retain an attorney.
That was back in June 18th. She filed a violation.
You have to give me a year.
June 18, 2003. Sorry, ma'am. She filed with CPS, and then she filed the order of protection.
Okay. Do you have those reports?
Yes, I have everything. Here's the order of protection, dismissed and everything, and here's the unfounded reports from CPS.
Could I see?
Here's the amended temporary order of protection I had too also.
Just a second. You said it was in June of 2003. I have a letter here dated September of 2003, which indicates from Child Protective Services that you are the subject of a report of suspected child abuse, and I assume that it was you who made that report.
No, ma'am.
Who was it?
It was the children's pediatrician.
When did you take the children to the pediatrician and why?
I took the children to the pediatrician on June 16th of 2003 because they had come home from a weekend with their father covered in mosquito bites, my daughter particularly, and several bruises, one of which was so large on her leg that it looked like the size of the fist, and that's what the doctor had recorded.
Mosquito bites?
22 to be exact.
Oh, okay.
As well as sunburn to the point where their skin was peeling.
Now this is interesting. Just a second. September 11th, 2003 is when they notify you that there was a report. But then I have a letter dated August 30th, 2003, which indicates that they've done an investigation and they find that there is no credible evidence was found that the children were abused or maltreated, and therefore the report has been determined unfounded. How many reports were filed?
2 altogether. One was done back in February. Before that.
Well, that's what I want to know. There was
yeah,
one
I
in
may have had the paperwork. Sorry.
Because you can't have an unfounded letter that's dated before the report. So there was a prior report in February. Who filed the prior report?
That was done through CPS automatically because we were both arrested at our household for a domestic. She was charged with 3 charges, and I was charged with protecting myself.
What's next?
Well, since then, Your Honor, she's engaged in another filing false petitions against me now ever since I've been awarded custody of the children. And she has done nothing but in that last year harassed me by going to child support and saying I'm not paying child support, which I have court documents saying that I was not willfully trying to disobey a court order.
What was the child support order?
First it was $90 a week, then I agreed to pay $100, and then I agreed to pay $150, and then because we kept going back and forth to court, she wouldn't stop filing. So they said it was not willful, and then child support, and then I was...
Just a minute. When there were orders in effect for $90, $100, and $150 a week, did you make regular payments pursuant to those orders?
I was. I constantly keep paying.
It's not true, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
He says he wasn't in willful violation of the support order because he told the court that he didn't have a job. He owns his own business.
Just a second. Did you ever tell the court that you couldn't pay this order because
no, I did
you
not,
were
ma'am.
not working?
No, I did not.
Transcripts.
That was never an issue, like not paying child support.
He said he wasn't working at the time. He even had his father in court to verify that he wasn't working.
That sounds like a hard story for her to make up, sir. Listen to me.
I'm listening.
He also...
Shh. Very easy to verify. Did you ever have your father in court and testify in court that you were either unemployed or didn't receive any income? Did you or did you not? The answer is either yes or no. It's very easy for me to pick up a phone and find out.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
He, at that time, had obtained a new boat, a new camper, various new home improvements to his house, and the judge asked him where did these belongings come from. He claimed that they were his brothers, his little brothers, that he wasn't
Somebody
working.
Else. So he was playing around with child support.
Right, that he wasn't working, and he was $2,300 in arrears at that point. At this point...
Do you have any documentation?
I didn't bring it. I didn't think it'd be brought up here.
At the time that you took him to court, he
right.
was $2,300 in arrears. I believe her.
He is currently $700 in arrears.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Oravec says his ex-wife, Maria Oravec, owes for legal fees and harassment. David claims Maria has been filing false reports with Child Protective Services.
Now, how much do you pay?
We don't pay anything.
How much? Listen to me. How much do you pay in child? Not we. How much do you pay in child support?
Neither one of us pay child support to each other.
You don't. He doesn't have to pay child support to you. He is the primary physical custodian of the children. You're supposed to pay child support to him.
He's never requested it.
Oh, Mrs. Oravec, he doesn't have to request it. You're supposed to pay it. You're supposed to give him money because he's taking care of the children. So stop complaining and fetching to me that he's $700 behind in child support. Do you work?
No, ma'am.
Get a job!
I have a job. I have 2 children.
You are not the children's primary physical caretaker.
But
Get
they're
a
with
job
me
and
daily.
support them. That's your job. So stop fetching to me that he's behind in child support. You have as much of an obligation to pay for the children when they're in his custody as he had to pay for the children when they were in your custody.
He didn't pay when they were in my custody.
And you don't pay a dime when they're in his custody.
I purchase everything for them outright.
I've heard that. Listen to me. You know how many times I've heard that from fathers who aren't primary physical custodians? I buy diapers, and I buy milk, and I buy things for them, and I take them to the movies. That's not support. Get a job and support them. Now, when was the next order of protection that was filed, sir?
There was no more after that.
So what are you complaining about?
Because she constantly keeps bringing me back and forth to court. Now, even after I was awarded custody of the children, she filed another petition against me to try and get modification of the custody of the children again.
Let me see it.
I mean, it's a nonstop battle of harassment and attorney fees that I got to keep paying.
Well, what is this?
So now here's another petition.
Yes,
Like
what?
I said, with that last false petition or file, there was a court order ordering us that we cannot go to the court for relief for 18 months unless we've attended Catholic charities. We did not attend Catholic charities, so she filed that petition in order. That was dismissed because of that.
Oh, so this was dismissed?
Yes, it was because she went against a court order.
Your Honor,
and they
he
told her.
keeps dodging Catholic Charities mediation program. He refuses to schedule. He refuses to pin down a date. He refuses to pay the $30 that it costs to go through mediation. He won't pin anything down just so he can avoid losing the kids. He knows he stands a substantial chance of losing these children now.
I have no idea why you gave them up in the first place.
Because I was stupid. Very, very stupid and scared.
Well, then, you know, if you were very, very stupid, you can't... Put your hand down.
Oh, sorry.
If you were very, very stupid, you can't inflict your stupidity on the children. Right
No,
now,
I
the
can't.
children are living with their father. And
They're living with both of us, ma'am. They go back and forth each week.
You mean 1 week they live with you and 1 week they live with him?
A 5- and 7-year-old have to get carted around every other week. It's not good for them.
That's what you agreed to. Listen, if that's what you agree to, and if you don't believe it's good for them, then they should stay with their father.
He's not good for them, ma'am.
Listen, if you're their mother, and you voluntarily settled this matter, and I'm not going into it because to me, you had custody for a year. There was something that happened that convinced you that it would not be in your best interest to proceed to a trial in this case, a trial that you would clearly lose, because otherwise, unless you suffered a substantial breakdown mentally, you would not concede custody to the father who did not have custody. So there was something that you did or something that the court could have determined, and I'm not sure what it was.
I have it.
Well, you have a report?
Yes, I do. I have the report right here.
He
Let me see it.
alleges abuse, Your Honor, but they're
No.
just
Let me see it.
allegations, and it's
This one right here.
nonsense.
The mother has engaged in a course of conduct designed to alienate the children from their father, and it goes on to list 6 instances where she has done that. The family court judge, in modifying the order of custody, clearly found that there was a change in circumstances sufficient to change the judgment of divorce and to modify the judgment of divorce, and ordered as follows. On consent of the parties, the mother and father shall continue joint custody of the minor children, with the children to reside with the father. That's what you consented to. And the judge found that there was a basis for that. Listen to me. You haven't established, to my satisfaction, anything as egregious as to require me to direct her to pay you for filing false charges against you. But I do suggest, sir, that you have the right to seek financial support from your former wife. She has an obligation to support these children just as you did when they were living with her. And I suggest that if you want to pursue that, you should go to Catholic Charities, proceed with whatever mediation there is in Catholic Charities, and then file a petition seeking child support, unless you are an independently wealthy person. Are you?
No, I'm not, ma'am.
Good.
According
Then
to
do it.
him,
That's
he
all.
is.
Out.
Thank you, ma'am.
Where's the $12,000?
a very brilliant woman. I'm just glad that she sees the truth like everybody else has.
Once again, David has convinced someone that he's Mr. Charming, and he's not.
She's pregnant with a child that's not even his now. And my concern is how she can bring another child into this world when she can't even take care of the 2 children she has right now.
That's why Daniel and I are involved. He got me out of an abusive relationship. He saw his brother beating me up. His own brother can't stand him.
Well, they're sick. There's nothing else to say.
We're going to have a nice little family once we can get someone else out of our lives and have him move on.
You know, the devil works in mysterious ways. Unfortunately, it's influenced them. Nothing I can do about it.
No, I just figure it this way. I married a boob and ended up with the prize.
Civil engineer David Fletcher is suing his ex-girlfriend, admissions clerk Brenda Manus, for illegally cashing a check and for attorney fees. Brenda says David was stalking her.
Yes, case number 345 on the calendar in the matter of Fletcher versus Manus. As been sworn in, judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Mr. Fletcher, you and the defendant used to date.
Yes, ma'am.
And there came a time when, according to your complaint, the defendant had accused you of being unfaithful.
Yes, ma'am.
And you said to her, it's not true. Here's a blank check. I'm signing it. You take this blank check and go hire yourself a private investigator and investigate me.
Yep.
So far, is that right?
Yes.
So she took the blank check, she filled it out, made it payable to herself for a couple of $1,000s.
Mm-hmm. Ma'am?
Who did you make it payable to?
He made it payable to me.
Oh.
He put my name in it.
Fine. You just filled in the amount.
Yes, ma'am.
Then things didn't go well. She accused you of stalking her.
Mm-hmm.
You were arrested, had to hire a lawyer. Those charges were subsequently dismissed. So you want the $2,000 back from the check and the attorney's fees.
That's correct.
Ms. Main says she cashed that check and wrote in $2,000 because she had to be taught a lesson not to be such an idiot. I mean, she doesn't say that, but that's about what she said. And that she had a grounds to file a complaint for stalking because you were, in fact, stalking her and making her very uncomfortable. Was he stalking you because he wanted his money back?
He never asked for the money back, Your Honor.
Never?
No.
When, for the first time, did he ask for the money back?
I received a
letter.
Let's
start from the beginning. When did he give you the check?
It was end of April, first part of May.
Can I see a copy of the check, please?
Yes, ma'am. I put together this, and it's got an index with all the fingers. Do you just want that?
Listen to me. I'm not as young as I used to be. Okay. Just give me a copy of the check.
There's some other stuff stapled to it.
April 6th. But that's the date on the check. And it was cashed?
In the upper right-hand corner there, it's the 8th of April, is when it actually transpired through the bank.
2 days later. Didn't waste any time.
No.
What'd you do with all the money?
I paid a bill of my daughter's.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it.
Okay, then I have here some emails. You were hell-bent to give me these things anyway. This one is dated Thursday, April 8th, 9:14 a.m. from you. No, David, I'm not going to hire a PI with your money, but I'm going to hold on to your money for a couple of months so you can sweat a little. That should be long enough to teach you a lesson on giving someone a blank check. By the way, I cashed it for $2,000, and you did have money in the account. You're lucky I didn't cash it for $10,000 like someone suggested. You lied to me about how much money was in your account, so you must not trust me. I hate liars, and once I'm lied to, I have a hard time believing anything that a person says to me in the future. How much after that did you break up with him?
We were broke up.
2 days later after he gave you the check?
Prior to the check.
You're not a nice person.
Maybe not.
Well, you're right. Well, I'm glad if somebody knows themselves. That's the first step to self-healing. I mean, you took advantage of him.
I don't feel that I did, Your Honor.
You don't feel as if you took advantage of him. He gave you this check for what reason? He gave you the check and said, I haven't been doing the wrong thing. I have been doing the right thing. Here, take this. You should have taken it, ripped it in 10 pieces and say, listen, David, it's over. I'm not interested in you. Instead, you took the check, you cashed the check, you went and bought yourself something, you paid a bill for your daughter, and then, after you told me I'm going to hold on to the money for a couple of months, that's what you said to him. So far you owe him $2,000.
Excuse me?
So far you owe him $2,000 because you said you were going to give it back to him. That's what you said in the email. That's That's your email. That's what you said. You said, I'm going
to me?
I don't care what he wrote to you. You told him that I'm going to hold on to it long enough to teach you a lesson. Did you learn your lesson?
Yes, ma'am, unfortunately.
Now, can I see when you filed stalking charges against him? Did you continue to send her letters and emails and flowers?
Well, what I'd like to do is present my evidence on this, if I could.
Listen
While
to
we
me.
were dating, I did.
Listen to me.
When we were
Listen to me. Watch me. After she cashed this check, did you send her flowers?
The last flowers I sent her was the first or second week of April. After the check, we were broke up for like a week. We got back together, and I have emails that she has communicated with me.
When you say you got back together, did you take her out for dinner?
We went out to dinner, and I have my business partner here that came over to Gold Beach, and she'd actually went out to dinner with us.
After April 8th?
After, yes.
Okay. Now, when did you tell him that you didn't want him calling you anymore?
I can answer that.
Go ahead.
It was May 19th, and I have the last email correspondence that I actually had with her.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am. This was the last correspondence. That's when she told me that she had a boyfriend and I was cramping her style, evidently.
I don't say
May
cramping
19th.
style.
And from that point on, I had no more contact with her, other than after I got served with a stalking order, which I got served. That was May 19th. When I had a hospital appointment, I had to have some surgery done at the hospital there. She works there, and bumped into me. And after I got done with my surgery and I got home, the next thing I know, I'm getting served with a stalking order. And that was, I hadn't saw her for almost a month.
How come you never told the police that you ripped him off for $2,000? I don't see that anywhere here.
Your Honor, I didn't rip him off for
Yes, you
$2,000.
did.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Oh, you did.
Okay.
Oh, you did.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. David Fletcher claims ex-girlfriend Brenda Manus owes for illegally cashing a check and for falsely accusing him of stalking.
Now, he didn't make you a gift, he didn't make you a loan. It was clear that he was trying to be a boyfriend and gave you this check. And initially, put your hand down. Initially, what you said was, 2 days after you cashed the check was, I'm just going to hold on to it for a couple of months to teach you a lesson not to be a fool and give somebody a blank check. Somewhere along the line, you changed your mind after you spent the money. So my question to you is, how come you didn't tell the police when you filed these charges against him, not for threatening you in any way, just he sent you emails, he sent you flowers, then he called you. How come you didn't say anywhere in any of these statements that I took $2,000 from his bank account? You didn't think that was relevant?
Nope.
No. And how come you didn't, if you thought that he was stalking you, how come you didn't say to yourself, maybe if I give him back the $2,000 that I took from him and made a fool out of him, maybe he would leave me alone and wouldn't bother me. And here's the $2,000, because he says to you in an email, why don't you just give me back my $2,000? I'll leave a deposit slip for you. What are you looking at me? Am I speaking a foreign language to you?
I would like to see that. I don't recall that.
Sure.
Thank you.
How much was your lawyer?
$712.
$712, did you say?
Yeah.
Refresh your recollection now? When he says, I'll leave you a deposit slip, please put my money back in my account. When did you do that, Miss Maines?
When did I put the money back in his account?
Yes.
I did not.
And if somebody was stalking me, if someone was following me around, if someone was coming to my place of business, I would say, gee, I want to remove any irritant that might exist with that person because they feel like a fool. Not a nice person. You were right at the beginning. First statement was right. You are not. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,712. You don't abuse the courts by filing stalking petitions when you've done the wrong thing. Goodbye.
Why does that excuse? You may step out.
He's mad because I filed the stalking order on him.
No, there was no stalking.
He emailed me constantly. I blocked his email.
Only part of the hateful part was the part that she told me when she had a boyfriend.
Called 2 and 3 times a week.
I emailed her back and I told her what I thought of her leading me on like that.
He would not leave me alone.
She basically wrote the check for more than she was supposed to.
He gave it to me.
It was supposed to be paid back. It wasn't paid back.
Wasn't ever asked to be returned.
There'll be no more blank checks.
And now the next case. Naval Officer Marvin Brayfield and his wife, Jennifer Jesse, are suing the former guardian of Marvin's son, Carolyn Blake, for filing false charges with Child Protective Services. Carolyn claims Marvin kidnapped his boy.
This is case number 353 on the calendar in the matter of Brakefield Jesse versus Blake. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Mr. Brakefield, this is your girlfriend, is that right?
This is my wife.
This is your wife now?
Yes.
At the time of this, it was your girlfriend?
At the time of it, yeah.
Okay. According to what I've read, several years ago, you had either a relationship with somebody, you had a brief marriage.
I was married to my first wife.
Okay. And that marriage produced a child?
Yes, it did.
A child that your then wife was not interested in raising?
That's correct.
And you took custody of that child?
Yes, I did.
But you weren't either in a position or you weren't interested in being a full-time parent either. So you turned your son over to the defendant for the purpose of care. And Mrs. Blake cared for your son for how many years?
21 months.
And during that 21 months, you were in the armed forces?
Yes.
Where were you stationed?
It was in Point Loma, California, in San Diego.
And Mrs. Blake cared for your son every day? He slept there?
Not full-time, no. She was a daycare provider and a close friend.
You mean your son was only there during the day?
She was there during the day except for Tuesdays and Thursday nights where she offered to keep him overnight so that I could go work out at the gym and perhaps get some more personal time.
Other than that, he slept at your house?
He slept overnight at my house, yes.
Is that correct?
No, it's not correct. He was with me 24/7 for the first 4 months. He didn't even come by to visit his son, but twice, and it was only after we requested it.
So for the first 4 months, he was with you full-time?
He was with me full-time the whole 21 months.
Does that sound right?
No, it's not correct at all.
Okay. Whether the child was with you 24/7 for the first 4 months or 21 months practically full-time, you started a new relationship with the co-plaintiff, and you decided that it was no longer necessary for Mrs. Blake to take care of your son, so you picked him up one day from her home, didn't tell her that you did not plan to return him, and took him, I assume, back to your house.
Yes.
Mrs. Blake called Child Protective Services. She tried to contact you. She didn't know where you were. She didn't know where the child was. She called Child Protective Services, and she made a report of suspected child abuse and or neglect. And you did do that.
Yes,
you acknowledged that you did that.
Yes, I did, and I was concerned deeply about Cody. He was not ever out of my sight without me knowing where he was more than 2 days.
Just a second. Well, that's what your case is involving. Your case is involving this call to Child Protective Services, which you say were unnecessary and unwarranted, causing you all kinds of grief, and you want to be compensated for that.
Yes.
And Mrs. Blake said that what you really did was amount to kidnapping this child without telling her that you were taking him, without telling her that you did not intend to return him to the home. And she had a legitimate concern about his well-being, and she called Child Protective Services. Right?
That's correct.
So, there's no question that for almost 2 years, Miss Blake was an integral part of your son's life. Is that right?
That's true.
How did he refer to her?
Mom.
I'm asking him.
He called her mom because that's how she'd call him mommy. She'd call him mamas. So that it would, what he would say when he was around her.
All I want to know from you is, I want a direct answer to my question. Direct answer to my question, Mr. Brakefield, is that he called the defendant mommy, right?
Yes.
Cody also calls him mommy. He also calls me mommy. He calls a lot of people mommy.
I didn't ask you anything yet. Nothing. How did you find Mrs. Blake?
She was a wife of one of my coworkers when I was at a different command.
You must have regarded her highly if you turned your son over to her.
I didn't have anybody else.
So what you're telling me is you would have turned him over to anybody because you needed a babysitter. Is that what you're telling me?
No. She offered to help me out. I was in a tight situation. She offered to help me out, and I accepted her help.
Mr. Brakefield, you're not going to be able to get away from my question. Either you believe that she was a quality caregiver, or you didn't know whether she was a quality caregiver or not, but you used her anyway.
I believe she was a quality caregiver.
That's a better answer. So, did anything happen during the course of the 21 months that Mrs. Blake was caring for your son that led you to believe that she was not a quality caregiver?
Yes.
Tell me what that was.
There were several occasions where I went into her house when picking my son up from her. There would be dog feces outside of her bedroom or down near her office, and she would tell her son to clean it up, and it would just stay there.
So that happened when?
On several occasions.
How much into the babysitting?
It was probably anywhere from 6 months to a year and a half into it.
Well, you weren't sufficiently concerned about that to take your son out and find a different daycare for him, right?
I thought it was something that I could resolve
How could you resolve that?
by talking to her and saying, no, I've brought this up to you on past occasions.
So what I'm asking you is, it never reached the point where you felt as if your child was in danger.
Not in physical danger, no.
Well, in physical danger from being in a place that was unclean.
Well, he was allowed to walk around with cleaning products like the dishwasher pillow packets. I brought that up, and I was told, oh, those he can't break those open. They're tough to open. You can barely. It's hard to open them, so he's perfectly safe.
When during the course of her babysitting for your son did that happen? How old was he?
It actually happened on multiple occasions. I just kept bringing it up, and just, oh, he's fine. And then one day I get a phone call from her saying, well, I'm not going to let him walk around with the cleaners anymore. He just sprayed 409 into Trevor's eyes.
When did you take your son out of Miss Blake's care?
On the 25th of July of this year.
And what was the impetus of you doing that?
I have a letter that I sent her that listed the reasons why I was terminating her services.
Let me see the letter.
The straw that broke the camel's back was that I allowed her to take my son to Las Vegas because she was going there for 4 days, one of which on the very first day was my dad's day off because my father lives there, and I figured, well, she can take my son to see his grandfather.
Yes.
So the very first day that she was there, it was my dad's day off. My dad did not see his grandson that day.
Right.
My dad didn't see his grandson until the night before they left, and only for half an hour. So I was on the phone with my dad when she walked in the front door. So my dad says, well, they're here. I'm going to see my grandson. I hung up the phone. Half hour later, I called him back expecting to hear, oh, yeah, everything's going great. I'm loving my grandson. I don't get that. I get, she doesn't like you. I said, well, Dad, why doesn't she like me? She has nothing good to say about you. She said you're self-centered. She says you're never there for your son. And I said, this is why I had her as a babysitter, because I'm in the Navy and sometimes I do work some late hours and I live 40 miles from work. So sometimes I go home and I sit in traffic for an hour and a half and I don't get there till 6, 7 o'clock at night. And it's not that I don't want to be there for my son. It's just that I had her services so that I wouldn't have to go to my boss and say, it's 4 o'clock, I got to pick up my son from daycare.
Your Honor? Just a second. Okay. So are you telling me that the reason you decided to terminate her employment, by the way, how much did you pay her?
$300 twice a month. My father also told me that...
Don't tell me anything that your father told you, sir, because that's all hearsay. So you paid her a little over $600 a month. Is that right?
He didn't pay for the first 4 months. We got the baby on December 26th. He had nothing, no diapers, no clothes, no items. This is the first baby item I bought him.
Just a second. So what you're telling me, the first 4 months
4 months,
he gave you...
nothing. Not
Is that right?
one dime.
No, that's not true.
Show me proof that for the first 4 months you paid her $300 twice a month.
I paid her in cash. She insisted on it.
And later?
It was all cash. I mean, I paid her by check one time, and she got upset because she said she didn't want to have to make a trip to the bank.
So let me ask you this question, sir. You wrote this after you had already taken your son
out of
without
her
telling her.
Right.
So
Your Honor, I have court documents to where Carolyn was so involved in his divorce and so pushy in regards to the care of Carolyn that the attorney actually asked that she not be in the picture anymore.
Doesn't make any difference. I told you once before. I didn't ask you anything. When did you meet him?
In March.
When did you start dating?
March.
And were you dating in April?
Yes.
Where did you live?
In Oceanside.
How did you meet him?
I met him online.
And when did you decide to get married?
June.
So you decided to get married in June, and in July all of these irritants that had been bothering him for 2 years all of a sudden made it so that he took the child out of Miss Blake's custody without giving her any advanced warning. Is that the time frame we're talking about?
That's right.
Right. I got it. So you'll answer me when I ask you a question. Do you have children?
No.
Okay. Is somebody from Child Protective Services currently monitoring your home?
No, they closed the case.
Did I look as if I was looking at you? I was looking at him.
They closed the case and they sent they gave me a letter.
I want to see the closed letter. This letter suggests that they conducted an investigation over a 2-month period, and that you now have your child in a licensed daycare facility, but they recommend that he be tested at the Hope Infant program because the daycare provider thinks that the child may have some developmental deficiencies. Have you done that, sir?
I have already.
And what's the result?
The daycare provider thought he might have a speech delay like one of his other brothers did. And I had a representative of the Hope Infant program come to my home, and it was determined that he does not have a speech delay because he's been talking, he's been putting 3-word sentences together and doing just fine.
Okay. Now we're going to get back to my original question, Mr. Brakefield, and that is, why did you not notify Miss Blake that you planned not to return Cody to her care?
Because before my first wife lost her parental rights, we had actually agreed to physical custody sharing. I informed Miss Blake of that, and she got very angry with me and started yelling at me that I was sending my son off to die, and so I figured, not wanting to go through that again and not knowing what her reaction this time would be, I figured a written letter would be the best route to go.
But you took him on July 25th, according to you, and you didn't write this letter, according to the date on the letter, until August 13th. So between July 25th and August 13th, what communication did you have with her?
I had none.
Well, that's wrong,
Except
sir.
when I told her I was going to go to Las Vegas to visit my father, which instead I went to another location, and my father started receiving phone calls from her demanding to know where I was, and my sister said she didn't know, and she was told by Miss Blake that she didn't care about me, she didn't care about Cody.
Don't listen to me. That's all hearsay. I'm asking you what you did.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Ben Brakefield and his wife Jennifer Jesse claim child care provider Carolyn Blake falsely accused him of kidnapping his son.
Mr. Brakefield, you're coming to court today, a man who, because of circumstances, finds himself in a position of having to care for an infant full-time and have a job. You did it with the help of Miss Blake for almost 2 years.
Right.
Then you meet this lady. And I gather from your complaint and from her answer that these two ladies did not get along.
At first they did when I first brought her over to her house.
Right now, it may be the first minute. After that, they did not get along. And within a month of the two of you deciding to make a life together, you remove Cody from Miss Blake's custody and don't tell her that you're not coming back. And expect her, listen to me, sir, and expect her to just say, well, I guess he decided to take the boy himself. There you go. And forget about it. And some 3.5 weeks later, send her a letter outlining why you took him from her custody. I don't think that's right. So,
I wasn't sure what her reaction would be, and I didn't want to risk
all you have to do is send her a
being yelled at.
telegram. I decided to terminate your responsibilities with regard to Cody. I will not be bringing him back. After I return from vacation, I have found another daycare provider, period.
I don't think it would have made a difference in her reaction.
Well, you don't know, but at least you would have done the right thing.
I have several harassing phone calls on my cell phone. She threatened to sue for custody of my son. The time she threatened to call CPS. She called my command on several occasions. There are times that she on several of the phone calls says, I am Cody's mother, and even has a message directly to Cody saying, this is mommy, this is your mother. It's just, anybody who's ever read this or heard the messages thinks we did the right thing by getting him out of her care.
Listen to me. I don't necessarily think you did the wrong thing by deciding to resume full-time physical custody of your child. You now had a fiancé who was going to be living with you, so you were in a better position to take care of him. I don't fault you, sir, for removing Cody and deciding to take him back in your full-time charge. I fault you for the method in which you did it. You did it in a heartless fashion. Very heartless. Not only heartless for her, but heartless for your son. He's a 2-year-old child. And the only maternal figure that he's known in 2 years is her. So whether you decide to take him back full-time, you sit down, you have a conversation. And you say, listen, you may like it, you may not like it, but I'm getting married, and I am going to take Cody back. We're going to make a family, the three of us, but I'd like to be able to do this in an orderly fashion. I'd like to be able to bring him to you 3 days a week and then bring him 2 days a week and then down to 1 day a week, and you can always visit him so that the transition for my son would be easier. Do you understand what I'm saying to you, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
If she rejected that, you've at least done the right thing. But you can't do the wrong thing and then come to court and expect me to feel sorry for you because after you did the wrong thing, she called Child Protective Services. What you did was wrong. What you did was abusive to a child who has the only other parent that they know, the one that they're with most of the time, because when you pick him up after work, then he goes to sleep. And that's those days that you're not picking him up because you're going to the gym and taking care of other personal business, right, according to you.
It's part of my job. It's mandatory. It's a mandatory military regulation that you work out 3 days a week.
Great! What does your 2-year-old son have to do with that? All he knows is the only person that's taking care of him is her.
Yep.
And what you did was precipitously and without any thought to how it was going to impact on him, you removed him from the only family that he knew without a transition. And that, as far as I'm concerned, was abusive. And that, as far as I'm concerned, deserves a call to Child Protective Services and say, what kind of person has this kind of judgment? I'm afraid for the kind of judgment that he is exercising with regard to this 2-year-old. You got my drift? I've raised some children, and I have grandchildren, and you're supposed to take the position as a parent that you're supposed to do what's best for them, the children, all the time. Now, it's best for your girlfriend, but what's best for the child. Right. Not even for what's best for her. Right. She's not the issue. You're grown-ups. He's not a grown-up. He's a baby. And you and your first wife put him in a position. You had bad judgment when you picked wife numero uno. I hope that you had better judgment when you picked numero due. I'm not so sure. But you and your first wife, it was your bad judgment picking somebody who wasn't ready to have a family. It was second poor judgment that you had a baby with somebody that wasn't ready to have a family. You find a caregiver who was given your child, who has kept him safe, fed, clean, because you didn't remove him from her custody for 2 years, so evidently her care could not have been that inadequate, sir. And then when you decide to do it, you do it in a fashion that is not designed to ease the transition. As far as I'm concerned, that's neglectful and very bad judgment. So, did you call Child Protective Services?
Yes, you better believe I did.
Good for you. Your case is dismissed.
Why does that excuse you to step out?
He disappeared from his apartment, the child, everything, and just took the baby and left it. And the child didn't speak for 3 weeks because he wasn't around me.
I have the right to decide who my son's caregiver is, no matter how close he is to that person.
They hurt the baby, 120%.
She just became overly bonded to him.
I would like to see Cody as a regular aunt and uncle would be.
She just can't get it out of her head that you're not Cody's mother.
I am the child's mother, not biologically, but every other sense I was.
Some people just have mental problems and can't differentiate the line between a caregiver and a parent.
I raised him for 21 months. He only came once every other week to get him.
I took my son home every night except Tuesday and Thursday nights.
That's not caring for a child. He didn't pay for diapers.
When she took care of Cody, he had a full crib full of clothes.
Formula, nothing.
He had 5 cans of formula. He was doing okay.
He doesn't have his family anymore.
I am Cody's father, and I am his family.
I just hope that Cody's going to be better, and if I don't see him now, I'll see him when he's 18. And he'll know everything.
Cody's going to do just fine. We've already got a college fund started for him, and he's going to have a great future.
2-year-old payroll scheduler April Thomas is suing her cousin's ex-girlfriend, 19-year-old health aid worker Tiffany Johnson, for vandalism to her 2000 Dodge Neon. Tiffany is countersuing, claiming April vandalized her Kia Optima.
Come to order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, all rise. Hi.
Count, this is case number 255 on the calendar in the matter of Thomas versus Johnson. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Anybody who's been to court before, raise your hand. Were you a litigant?
No, traffic court.
And you?
Criminal court.
Criminal court.
Mm-hmm.
I assume you weren't a prosecutor.
No.
Right?
No.
Good. So we all know what court's about. Court's about telling the
Truth.
So that's what we're going to do today, right, ladies?
Yes.
I have cross complaints. Each of you claimed that the other damaged their car purposely by breaking windows. And each of you say, I didn't do her window, and I didn't do her window.
I didn't do her window.
I didn't do her window.
She has a child with him.
No.
With who?
With my cousin. He's not here.
Where is he?
He's in jail.
Ah! He's in jail. A testament to your good judgment.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, there was some sort of altercation involving the two of them, your cousin and his then ex-girlfriend and the mother of his child. And since then, there's been some bad blood between the two of you. So I want you to tell me when you claim she damaged your car, where the car was, and who witnessed it.
Okay. My car was at my house in my driveway. It was about 5:30 a.m. I don't have the specific date. I know it was in July. I wasn't there. I have a witness that says that shows everywhere where I was at. That says
which one is the witness?
She's the witness to who I was with, and he's the witness that's seen her damage my car.
Well, I don't care who you were with. I'm not your social secretary. I just want to know who saw her damage your car.
Okay, he saw her damage my car,
ma'am.
Rick.
Okay, step up. Tell me your name.
My name is Rick Howard.
How do you know her, Rick?
I used to work with her a couple years ago.
And what were you doing up at 5:30 in the morning on this date in July that we don't remember?
Smoking a cigarette.
Where?
On her balcony.
What were you doing in her house?
She went out of town, so I was staying there, house sit, because she had problems with... She has problems with her neighbors, so I was staying there.
So you got up very early, you went out on the balcony to smoke a cigarette.
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you see?
I heard an alarm go off, so I went downstairs because I thought it was my car, because my car's been stolen before. When I ran downstairs and I turned the corner, I seen Tiffany standing behind the car, like with a blunt object in her hand.
With a what?
Blunt object.
And did you know Tiffany before?
I don't know her, but I know of her.
No. When you say you know of her, had you seen her before?
Yes.
No. Where had you seen her before?
At a high school.
How many years ago?
About 4 years ago.
And you hadn't seen her in 4 years?
No.
Get to you in a minute.
Okay.
What did you say to her?
I was like, A. I just yelled out A.
And when you yelled out A, what did she do?
She left.
How did she leave?
She got in her car.
What kind of car?
A white car.
So what did you do?
I went back upstairs.
Well, didn't you go and look to see what happened to her car?
Nah, I figured that the window was broken because I heard the window break. So I went back upstairs.
What do you mean you figured that the window was broken? You mean you didn't go over to look at the car?
No.
You figured it wasn't your car, you didn't have any...
No, it wasn't that it wasn't my car. It was just that I heard the window break. So she had an object in her hand, so I figured that the window was broken. So I went back upstairs to get my phone, and then I came back downstairs.
When you got your phone, who did you call?
I called April.
Where was she?
Somewhere in the Bay Area.
And you told her what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Did you call the police?
Another lady who was standing across the street, I called the police.
Did the police arrive that day?
Yes, they did.
Did you speak to the police?
Yes, I did.
Did you give them a description of the person that you saw?
Yes.
Did you tell them who it was?
Yes.
You told them by name?
Yes.
Did you get the name from Miss Thomas, or did you get the name from knowing her yourself from high school?
Thomas told me her name from a picture, because she has a picture of her in her house.
So when you told her somebody just came and busted the window out of your car, and they had a white car, and she said to you it must have been Miss Johnson, is that right?
She didn't say it must have been Miss Johnson. Like, she looked familiar from the pictures that she has in her house, and that's how I recognized her, other than I knew her from high school.
What are you doing with a picture of her in your house?
I have a picture of her and her son at my house. We have like a lot of family gatherings, and she comes because her son is included in our family. And when we were tight, we used to take pictures, and I'd keep them in my house. And even though they're not together, that's still his mother, so I would have the pictures.
Okay. Now, Miss Johnson, let's get to you.
Okay.
Nope, I didn't ask you a question yet. Don't start. You may be seated. Now, it is your claim that Miss Thomas busted a window in your car.
Yes.
When do you claim she did that?
And this was in June. I never seen him a day in my life.
I didn't ask you anything about that. I asked you about your car.
Okay, this is the real story. We was at a club. We went to a
Listen
club
to me.
in June.
I'm in charge here.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. April Thomas says her cousin's ex-girlfriend, Tiffany Johnson, vandalized her Dodge Neon by breaking her window. Tiffany says April did the same thing to her car.
In what month do you claim she damaged your car?
June 25th.
What time on the 25th of June?
12:30 to 1 o'clock.
In the morning?
No, at nighttime. Yeah, morning, yeah, it is morning.
Where was your car?
At a club.
So tell me what happened.
I was parking. My cousin pulled in first. I was parking my car. And as I was parking my car, Miss Thomas jumped in front of my car and told me I cannot park here. She is saving this park for my friend, and she's on the freeway to get there.
So you're moving into a spot. She blocks the spot, and she says, I'm saving it.
Yes.
And you said?
You can't save a park. You can't stand and save a park. It's free parking. My car I was so close to hitting her for her just standing in front of my car. So I just parked my car and got out. And she started...
Just a second. So she's standing in the parking space, and you said, well, you're going to get run over, but I'm parking here.
Yes.
So you parked there in the spot.
Yes.
Okay, and she ultimately moved out of the way.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
It was my friend's birthday. That's how I remember the date, because we were all going out. And as I got out my car, she's talking about, you don't want it like this, or you already know about these hands. You don't want to see nobody in my family. We just started talking a lot. Just started talking to me. I don't want this, and I just walked away. So we walked down the street by the clubs. Then we walked to Old Sacramento, and I just had a funny.
Holy! You went to the club. What happened when you got to the club?
We didn't go in because it was about to close anyways.
And from there you went back to your car?
I went to Old Sacramento, walked to Old Sac.
I don't know where that is, nor do I really care. When did you go back to your car?
In like 20 minutes.
20 minutes after you parked your car and had this altercation with the plaintiff, you went back to your car. And what did you find when you went back to your car?
1,000 pieces of glass broke all over my driver's window. And it was so many people out there telling me, the girl that you just
Don't tell me what anybody else said. Driver's window?
Yes.
What window of your car was broken?
My back windshield.
Okay, so you found your window broken?
Yes.
Now, other than the fact that you had had this altercation with her about the parking space,
yes,
did anyone else who was here today witness her damaging the car?
Crystal.
Crystal. I'm going to take your testimony, Crystal. Step up. Crystal, how do you know Miss Johnson?
I don't know her.
Where do you work?
I stay at home with my son.
And what were you doing out at 1 o'clock in the morning on June 25th?
I was going to the club too.
Who were you going with?
Some friends.
Tell me what you saw.
Okay, Tiffany had pulled up. April jumped in front of her, told her she couldn't park, and then Tiffany parked anyways. Got out of the car, started walking off. April started yelling at her. Tiffany walked off. One of April's friends had pulled up a couple minutes later, and they had got in the car, drove off. Came back like a few minutes later. April had got out of the passenger side, threw something at Tiffany's car, and jumped in the car and took off.
And how come you stayed around the parking area that long?
Because I was sitting in the car across the street talking to some friends.
How did it come about that you met Miss Johnson and told her what happened to her car?
Well, we were still there when she had come walking back.
So you told her what you saw?
Yeah.
Did you call the police, Miss Johnson?
No.
How come?
It was late at night. I just knew it was her. That's why I didn't even call the police, because I didn't even think it would go this far with me and her. I know April for a long time.
Well, did you call her the next day?
No, I asked her cousin, my son's dad, told me that she was going around the family acting like she done something very well. And he was mad because all the glass that was in my car, my son cut his hand.
So you mean you didn't call the police?
No.
And you didn't speak to her afterwards and say, you better fix my car?
No.
I don't understand that. You mean you just got even?
No, but she's trying to say...
No. I asked you a question.
No.
I think you did.
Okay, I did.
That's my girl. That's it.
Yeah.
You didn't get mad.
No.
You got even.
Yeah.
Love it.
Like when it works.
Like it when it works. Right?
Yep.
Very good. So how much did it cost you to fix your window?
Can I add that also she must have stuck something in my door lock because it doesn't turn anymore.
How much did it cost? Listen.
I'm listening.
How much did it cost to fix your window?
It was $344 for the window, and it came to $253 for the tent.
For the what?
The tent on the window is tinted black.
Why?
Because all my windows are tinted black to keep the sun out.
$344, is that right? It cost you to fix the window?
Yes.
How much did it cost you to fix your window?
$300, and I have to get a rental car because I have to wait till my window to come in.
It cost you just about the same amount of money.
Yes.
Right? Did you both feel good afterwards?
No.
Mama? Did you feel good?
I didn't do anything.
Oh,
sure you
gosh,
did.
Yes, you did.
Of course
She's
you did.
the devil in disguise.
Of course you did. Now, my only problem with both of you is, I mean, you're acting like children.
Yeah.
Which is, shh. You're acting like children. And the only problem that I have with both of you is, why do you visit your childish behavior on the court system? Why do we have to become involved in your childish behavior? You both did something wrong. It ended up costing you both money, right?
Yeah.
Goodbye. Case is
Sorry,
dismissed.
excuse me. You may step out.
I didn't think it would come this far with her breaking my window. I admitted that I went back and broke her.
She thinks that I broke into her car when I didn't, so it's just plain out ignorance.
I guess she want to be like me, but she can't.
You can see that she's ignorant. She doesn't know the day from night, from 12 a.m. to 12 noon.
I'm cuter than her.
She is just really anal and acts like a true baby mama. We would call it ghetto.
Her attitude is ugly, just like her face.
She's a sloppy CH.
And now the next case.
Off matter of Kurtz versus Mansfield. Step forward, please.
Engineer Andrew Kurtz is suing teacher Carolyn Mansfield for car repair bills. Andrew says Carolyn's unleashed dog ran into his Porsche.
Mr. Kurtz, you were driving along a country road, and according to your complaint, the defendant's dog was running out and hit your car. And you want Miss Mansfield to be responsible for the $1,000 deductible that you had to pay after your insurance covered the rest of the damage to the car.
That's correct.
Miss Mansfield says that you had to have been going too fast on that road, that your car hit her dog, and that she paid over $1,200 in vet bills for the dog. And since you were probably each at fault, since the dog was out, which is how the dog came to collide with your car in the first place, she's taking care of her bills and you should take care of yours, right?
That's absolutely right.
Well, that's your position anyway.
Yes, well, that is my position.
Where do you live?
I live in Placerville, California.
Are there any rules and regulations where you live with regard to dogs being leashed or being confined in either a yard or your home?
I understand there is a leash law. There's supposed to
Yes. So your dog, I assume, does not comply with the leash law.
My dog complies whenever she can. However, there are some holes in my neighbor's fence, and occasionally the dog has gotten into the neighbor's yard. On the day in question, I did not know the dog was out of our yard. In fact, my husband and I were getting ready to go to a Christmas party. It's December 21st, about 4 o'clock, and I turned to my son and I said, "We're getting ready to go to the party now. See you later." And Charlie said, "Well, I'm going out to the backyard to play with the dogs." And I turned around, I saw one of our...
How many dogs do you have?
Two. And I saw
what
one
kind
of
of dogs are...
Pardon?
What kind of dogs are they?
They're mutts. They were both strays that eventually showed up, and we just didn't quite get them to the pound, and now they're ours.
And how long have you had them?
7 years.
And how often does this particular dog get out of your yard?
Well, anymore, not at all, but...
Then,
at that time, pretty often.
Okay. So you were on notice that your dog knew how to get out.
But my dog, this is the truth, Judge Judy, my dog was extremely streetwise. I know that sounds crazy, but this dog had grown up, had about 2 years in this area. It was a wild dog. We had seen it around, and I decided to try to tame the dog so that I could catch it. Animal control would not pick it up unless we could contain it. So over a period of about 6 months, I was able to tame the dog, and by then I just kind of fell in love with her. She has absolutely become a part of our family, and this dog never ran into the road or in front of a car. The dog would literally go to a driveway and look both ways before it crossed. People would note that. It's incredibly smarter. It couldn't have survived the 2 years in this neighborhood where people would come up from the Bay Area in their fancy sport cars driving really fast.
Miss Mansfield, listen to me very carefully. We're getting a little beyond ourselves.
Okay, but I have some pictures for you.
We're getting beyond us. Now, what time of the day were you riding down the country road?
It's 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
Where were you going?
Going to an apple orchard.
In December.
Shh. Miss Mansfield.
Yes,
Miss Mansfield. Okay.
Is the weekend before Christmas. We were going up there to get some apple cider and some apple pies.
Okay. Tell me what happened with Miss Mansfield's dog.
I was driving along the road, and the dog just came straight out into the road, and it was in full stride when I hit the dog with the car.
Did you stop?
Yeah, I just took my foot off the gas and watched the dog in the rearview mirror. My fiancée, Christina, was just like, oh my God, we just hit a dog. And then I pulled over at the first point that I could pull fully clear of the roadway.
And what did you do? Put your pictures down. Okay.
We got out of the car and walked back towards where the dog had limped off the roadway, and I walked back into the woods. At that point, I met an old man and a young boy there. I asked them if they saw a dog. I told them I just hit a big black dog, and he said that it sounded like the neighbor's dog, and then we found it just laying on its side.
And what did you do?
The man sent the young boy down to the Mansfield's residence to get someone to come up to the dog. We just stood there with the dog, and it was just laying on its side, panting. And then Charlie, her son, brought a pickup truck up, and we put a blanket down, put the dog on the blanket, and lifted the dog into the back of the truck.
Okay. Can I see pictures of your car? I see that you have pictures of the car there. I'm surprised that what's this dog's name, Lucky?
Lucky.
He sure was lucky.
Well.
Because I'm surprised that this dog survived.
Lucky was not supposed to survive overnight. She had severe injuries.
Okay, but she did?
She's among the land of the living.
Good, and she's now in a fenced-in yard.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we're using the buried wire with the electric shock, and she's
That sounds like what you should have been using before.
And that's exactly why I paid my own vet bills, and I decided I would not sue somebody for hitting the dog because I was trying to take my responsibility and pay the dog's vet
Ms.
bills.
Mansfield, you have a law where you live that says that dogs have to be under your control at all times, either on a leash if they're out, in a fenced yard, or in your home. But for the fact that you broke the law, your dog would not have been hit.
Mm-hmm. May I show you some of these pictures and explain one thing?
You can show me anything you like.
Okay.
You must accept the fact that but for the fact that you broke the rules, your dog would not have been hit.
Okay, but I contend the dog may not have been in the road. We have a friend who was killed right there where Mr. Kurtz pulled over. He ran right into that tree. If you don't negotiate that turn, you're going to hit that tree. And in fact, before you hit it, you will go straight over our neighbor's driveway.
Listen to me!
Needs to lay down.
Miss Mansfield, I don't care if he went up into your neighbor's living room.
But that would be private
listen to me.
Okay.
If he went up into your neighbor's living room and hit your dog, the rule says your dog must be under your control at all times. But for the fact that you, who had notice that your dog got out frequently and roamed around and was safe most of the time. Most of the time, she was really smart and really lucky. Didn't hurt anybody, didn't get hurt herself. This time she did, and it's your fault.
Okay.
Listen to me. Only your fault because his car did not jump up on your front porch and go into your living room and hit Lucky while she was sitting on the sofa watching TV. That didn't happen.
Excuse me, but if it was going at an unsafe speed in a residential area, it could have been Dylan. It could have been the little boy at the end of the driveway with my dog.
It could have been E.T.
But it wasn't.
It was your dog that was violating the law. You owe him $1,000. That's his deductible.
Could my son,
Judgment for the plaintiff. Step out. Goodbye.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge. Occasionally dogs get out. If people are driving the way they're supposed to, they should be able to stop.
The dog has to be on a leash or you're going to be liable for the damage that it causes.
My dog suffered great injuries.
It's a tragedy what happened, really.
I spent 3 months doing physical rehabilitation on the dog.
It's been a lot of time and from my side, too, and money.
I couldn't work. I mean, I had to work with this dog for 3 months to get it back to life.
It was very scary.
I just think she deserved a little more justice than that.
I felt awful. awful for the dog.
Jada Maxwell is suing her sister, Valastasia Maxwell, for unauthorized bank account charges and property damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2191, Maxwell versus Maxwell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Maxwell, this is your sister.
Correct.
Older, younger?
Younger.
The two of you decided to take an apartment together.
Correct.
When was that?
August 27th of 2021.
Were you both on the lease?
No, ma'am, just me.
How long did you live together?
It was about 6 to 7 months.
When did your sister leave? What month?
She left at the end of June of 2022.
June of?
2022.
Miss Maxwell, was it your arrangement that you would split the rent?
No. I would pay a portion of the rent, not split it even.
Well, tell me what a portion was.
The first month I stayed there, which was September only, I didn't pay anything. In October through November, $200, and then after that it was $400.
Well, how much was the rent?
$950, I believe.
And how many of you lived in the apartment?
Just us two.
Well, why weren't you paying half the rent?
I slept on a couch.
Oh, is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor, except for the agreement. The agreement was that she would keep the apartment clean and pay half the rent and utilities.
Well, why would she pay half the rent if you get the bedroom?
It was her agreement. That was just...
No, I'm just saying, that doesn't sound reasonable to me. If she got the couch and you got the bedroom, why would she pay the utilities and half the rent?
Well, it wasn't... The rent itself was like, she gave me what she could, but that was just our agreement. I bought the couch big enough so that she would be able to use it.
Nonsense. Okay, this is what the case is about. You claim that she stopped paying any money towards the apartment and you threw her out. And when she left, she damaged some property, and then she charged some money on either your credit card or a debit card.
My debit card.
Did you ever give her your debit card?
There was only one time when I handed her with permission to use the credit card at a gas station.
That's not true.
Just, you had a physical debit card?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and the one time that you let her use it, I want you to tell me when that was and what that was for.
It was within the time period of her living in the apartment. We were at a gas station and I was filling up. She went inside the gas station to purchase something because she didn't have money at the time, and that was it. That was the only time that I recall her ever giving her permission to use my card.
Okay. She moved out of the apartment in June of 2022, and I understand it was not an amicable process and the police were called.
Correct.
Who called the police?
I did.
Why?
My dad gave me advice and he said that I should call the non-emergency escort so that they can watch her, make sure that she actually leaves when she was asked.
And what day in June was this?
I do not recall the date.
You don't have a police report or a number?
Not for that. They didn't give me a police report for that.
Did they give you a police report for something else?
I have the police report for the fraud.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because it is your claim that you used the information from your debit card and withdrew a lot of money from your debit card.
Correct.
So you reported this to the police on August 25th?
24th.
It says reported 8/25. How much money did she take out of the account?
At the time of that, it was only estimated about 10, but once the July statement came out, I was able to add up more, and it was nearly 14, 15 grand.
May I see it, please? How did you get her banking information?
I had to call them.
Shh. How did you get her banking information?
I don't have her bank information.
Well, you took money out of her account. You acknowledge you took money out of her account.
I only took money out when she gave me permission.
No. You acknowledge that you took money out of the account. I've read your answer. How did you get her account information?
She gave me her card on multiple occasions.
You mean after you moved out, she gave you her card?
No. Shh. Yes.
Do you understand? You're not going to end up well here. Do you understand that? Because if she called the police to watch you, to escort you out of the house, there is no question that she did not thereafter give you permission to use her credit card or her debit card. That doesn't make sense.
She did.
Do you understand the chronology of what I'm saying to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
So if I were to believe you, the only time you used her credit card is when you were still there. And that was prior to June of 2022.
That's incorrect.
Jada Maxwell claims her sister, Valastasia Maxwell, wrongfully took money from her bank account and damaged her property.
There is no question that she did not thereafter give you permission to use her credit card or her debit card. That doesn't make sense.
She did.
Do you understand the chronology of what I'm saying to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
So if I were to believe you, the only time you used her credit card is when you were still there. And that was prior to June of 2022.
That's incorrect.
Just a second. So you're telling me that after she called the police to escort you out of the apartment, she still gave you permission to use her card?
Yes, Your Honor. I still went over to her apartment until July 15th.
For what?
I had my stuff there.
Just to gather your things.
And she let me use her car multiple occasions to get some of the furniture that she let me have. And she told me that I can use her card.
When was the last time you visited with your sister? July what?
July 15th.
And when was the last time you used her card?
July 16th.
What did you use her card for, July 16th?
Rent.
Between what periods of time did you use her card? Give me the dates.
Since September of 2021 until July 16th.
September of 21. And what was it for in September?
She would send me to the store, or if I was already at the store in her car, she would tell me to use her card or something like that. She would pay me to.
How much did you spend on her card just for you? Just for you, not for joint, not send it to the store. Here's my card.
I have it here.
Tell me how much you spent on you.
I'm not sure of the exact amount.
Did the police contact you with regard to the fraud?
No.
They never did?
No.
The police report, do you name your sister as the person who stole your money?
Yes, Your Honor. The bank told me...
No, don't tell me what the bank told you. The bank doesn't tell you anything. Would you show me here, maybe I'm missing it, where you report the person who took the money out of your account?
That is the only document when I went down to the station that they gave me. When I went to actually make the file, she just asked me a couple questions.
Don't tell me what somebody else asked you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you report to the police that it was your sister who fraudulently took your money?
I did, but the police eventually they cut it off because I was going to pursue small claims. They told me that they are no longer needed.
Small claims. Why were you going to pursue small claims? How much money does she have? Miss Maxwell, let's get it together. Let's get it all together. Okay? You were not going to pursue small claims because you knew that in small claims you would end up with zero. You knew that.
At the time, I didn't understand what everything meant, which is why I tried calling a bunch of people, and I spoke to
No, I just want to know why, at this point, because the bank gave you back some money.
Correct.
How much money did the bank give you back?
I have it here. It was about $4,900, nearly $5,000.
Okay, and they gave you back almost $5,000. I'd like to see the communication with the bank. With the bank as to, if you are alleging fraud,
right.
If you're alleging fraud and you say that you had all of this money taken out of your account.
Correct.
Okay, then there's no reason why the bank, if you were alleging fraud and they found that there was fraud, why wouldn't they return all the money?
Because they have a policy that within the 3 months, they can only go up to the first 3 months. And because I didn't realize sooner, they can only go up to that 3 months. So they were only able to give me back within the transactions within those 3 months.
Is this a savings account or a checking account?
It was beneficiary.
What is that?
When somebody passed and you get money.
Explain that to me. I don't understand what beneficiary account is.
My grandmother passed away in August 9th of 2021. And she was my legal guardian to the age of 18. So I was under her account as a beneficiary. So when she passed, I got the money.
So you were living with your grandmother?
Correct.
Okay. And what was the benefit package?
What do you mean?
How much did you get as a beneficiary?
It was about $50,000.
On what date?
I'm not sure when it was processed, but it was opened. Payment started October of 2021. Our transaction
I don't
started.
understand what a beneficiary account is. Who paid the money? Who paid this $50,000?
My grandmother. She would put money in there so that if something were to happen to her, the money would go to me or whoever she listed.
Your Honor, it's a type of savings account. In simple words, a beneficiary bank account is a type of savings account in which the funds are transferred to somebody else after the account owner passes away, directly to the beneficiary.
Okay, this had nothing to do with you receiving benefits through your grandmother.
No.
This is an account that your grandmother set up for you.
Correct.
Now, is that grandmother also her grandmother?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you have a relationship with your grandmother?
Yes, I did.
Did she only set up the one account?
I'm not sure, but I wasn't the only one that received money.
What about you?
Nothing.
Okay, so how much is left in that account now?
The account is closed out.
By whom?
At the bank. After a certain, once it goes under a certain amount, they send you a check with the rest of the money.
How much did they send you a check for?
It was about $200.
Well, who spent the $50,000?
I made transactions throughout the time period as well.
Okay. What did you buy with $50,000?
I just basically used it.
What does that mean?
I wasn't responsible with it. I'll be honest about that.
Did you know that your sister had this $50,000 amount of money?
I didn't know she had that much, no.
Did you know she had any?
Yeah.
Did you know where it came from?
Yes.
Jada Maxwell has accused her sister, Velastasia Maxwell, of taking money from her bank account and damaging her property.
Now, what did you buy with $50,000?
I just basically used it.
What does that mean?
I wasn't responsible with it. I'll be honest about that.
Did you know that your sister had this $50,000 amount of money?
I didn't know she had that much, no.
Did you know she had any?
Yeah.
Did you know where it came from?
Yes.
Are you working?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a cashier.
And what about you?
I currently work at Chipotle and I also Uber on the side.
When was the last time you saw your sister?
July 16th. Or, I'm sorry, July 20th.
Are there any charges here after July 16th of 2021?
Yes, Your Honor. I actually gave that up already. In the top, it says July. It's written on there.
Just a second. I'm going to give this back to you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Find any charges that were made after July 16th. It was after July 16th was the last time you saw your sister?
No contact. We didn't have contact.
So the last time that you saw her was in July?
Correct.
You have here July total $3,148.14. What does that number represent?
That is that's all transactions that were confirmed to be her added up total in just the month of July.
Were there any?
Yes. It goes in. If it goes.
Were there any charges?
There were quite a few.
In August, or was July the last amount of money that she took out?
In August, the card got cut off, so there were no.
Okay, so that the most that she incurred on the card in July was $3,000.
Correct, Your Honor.
And she left on July.
She was kicked out at the end of June.
The end of June?
Correct.
Yes, June of 2022.
Correct.
And that was with a police escort?
Correct. No.
Okay. The police watching you?
They left, and I was still in the apartment.
But they were there. They were called.
Right.
Okay. Now, what property do you allege that your sister damaged? Because that's the second part of your lawsuit.
It was a couch, and
What?
it was $1,100.
Well,
I have pictures of the aftermath of when she was kicked out and what the state of the apartment was left in, including the couch.
Just show me the couch. If she damaged your couch, let me see it. I can't see what the damage is to this couch.
It shows better in other pictures.
No, I don't see damage. I just see a lot of dirt.
Under the cushions, there was mold, and then there's a picture that shows 2 cigarette burns that her friend left.
Could you return this to the plaintiff, please? A lot of dirt. Okay. Anything else?
Thank you.
You can't use her credit card after you're not speaking to your sister. I don't believe
I didn't, Your Honor.
Yes, you did. $3,148.
I did not spend $3,000.
Kevin, these are July's statements. I think one of those things is yours. The bottom document. Okay, anything else? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,148. We're done here. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
There was a lot more to show, but I'm glad I got something back. She took a lot from me.
I don't see how you can decide I made a transaction with my name written in pen.
And caused a lot of downfall after the fact.
She's just mad, I guess. I'm not sure.
I almost ended up homeless. I almost lost my job because of this.
I didn't cause any damage, no.
It was very hard. I didn't even want to press charges because she's my sister.
Nothing. They pulled up. They said that I had to leave. And I said, no, I already paid my portion. And they said, okay. And they left.
No, she was kicked out prior to that.
My friend did do that. I can say that. But, like,
she's just lying.
I didn't damage anything else.
At this point, I don't believe her. I don't trust her. She took advantage of me.
Hopefully we can just dead it, but I don't know.
So I'm just glad that I was able to get something back so I can continue to get back up on my feet.
One day at a time.
I'm hoping for an apology, some remorse.
Who knows?
After I confronted her and she admitted to it, she ignored and cut everybody out. She didn't even say she was sorry. She didn't speak to me.
I don't know.
You know, it's a little bit easier now to commit fraud using someone's credit card, even if you only had access to the physical card for 5 seconds. It's long enough to take a picture of the back and input all the information into the DoorDashes, the Ubers, all the accounts. And if you don't check carefully, you may not notice for a couple months. So, I mean, I've been a victim of fraud in that way, and I know it can be very stressful trying to deal with the credit card company, and especially when it's your sister. I mean, my sister better think twice before using my credit card.
Do you know, generationally, I have a problem. It's actually my problem because I'm used to writing out a check. I have a checkbook. I write out the check. I deduct the check from my balance. I know what is...
How they taught you in 4th grade.
Absolutely. You want to make a deposit in a savings account. We were taught you brought $2, you put it in a bank account. In the bank book every Friday, your teacher stamped it, $2. That's how you save money. And the fact that you can walk into a store and take your phone and go like that and charge.
And who knows whose information is on there.
Frightening to me. It all sounds as if it's going to collapse around me. But everybody, I think everybody who's under 50 uses that, probably more than 50, because my children are actually 50. It's hard to come to terms with that. But they all use their...
Online banking.
Banking?
Yeah.
I still don't have my banking online.
I know.
I still do. Yeah. I still call them.
Yeah.
They say, it's her again on the phone.
You know you could do this online now, right?
Yeah, no. Anyway.
Well, keep doing it your way, and hopefully we don't get ruined by our way.
Yeah, fingers crossed. She seemed like a decent young woman, the plaintiff. You know, it's sad. Her grandmother saved probably all of her life so that her granddaughter had a little nest egg of $50,000, and she blew through it. Blew through it.
Unfortunate, but I appreciate the honesty.
And it was honest. Put money in trust. That's my advice.
Mila Bazin is suing her former employer, Sarah Adams, for lost wages and pain and suffering from a dog bite.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2177, Bazin versus Adams.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Bazin, you had a job as a dental assistant. Is that right?
Yes.
And you went to school for that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where did you go to school?
Medical Institute.
Did you graduate?
Yes.
I gather you didn't like it.
No.
I say that because you didn't stay in that career path for very long. Just my own curiosity, I come from a long family of dentists. Tell me why you didn't like being a dental assistant. Had to be a reason.
Cleaning people's teeth and having them fight you and tell you that they don't have cavities when they do.
You didn't like the whole experience?
Yeah, all the explaining you have to do.
Okay, got it. Wasn't for you.
No.
You've got it in your hip pocket should you ever need it again, right?
Yeah.
You have the degree. In any event, the defendant was a patient of yours. She came in as a patient?
Yes.
And you got to know each other, according to you. And she offered you a job at a place that she manages. You managed a store? What kind of store?
It's an appliance store, so we sell scratch and dent appliances.
When was that?
Oh, geez. This had to have been in May.
May of 2022?
Correct.
Is that when you started working in the store?
I started July 3rd.
That was your start date? And what were your duties?
Sales rep, she taught me how to sell the scratch and dent appliances, how to run the store, and help her manage it. I was making more commission, so I did take the job besides the dental office.
So you worked in the dental office too?
No.
You left the dental office?
I left the dental office so I could pursue more money.
Okay. And you did make more money?
Yes.
There came a time, according to what I read in the complaint, that you, Miss Adams, asked the plaintiff to do an outside job for you.
No, that was not correct. So
tell me how it happened that she ended up at your house.
What happened was I was going to take my lunch to take my kids who were at home lunch because they were on school break. She offered to go.
How old are your children?
16, 13, and 10. She offered to go in my place that she wanted a break. She clocked out for her lunch. I gave her money to go, 1, pick up the food, and 2, a little bit of gas money. She then went to my house.
Just a minute, we're not there yet. She clocked out for her lunch break.
I was clocking out at work.
Shh. And you're the store manager?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long do you get for a lunch break?
An hour.
That's an hour during the day. That's yours.
Correct.
Now, from the store where she clocked out, to the place where she was supposed to pick up lunch for your children, how far was that? Because you said you gave her gas money, so it wasn't around the corner.
15 minutes away.
And how far from this place where she got the food is your house?
Right down the road.
5 minutes.
Not even 2.
2 minutes, 17 minutes. And then she's got to get back.
Correct.
So that's almost 40 minutes.
Correct.
Out of her 1 hour lunch. So she was doing you a favor.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, why don't you just say that? So you made me go through this whole exercise. It was more than half her lunch. It gave her 15 minutes for lunch. She was doing you a favor.
Yes, ma'am.
Did she ask you to do her this favor?
Yes.
Tell me how she asked you to do her this favor.
Wouldn't go through when we were ordering the food. I was already on my way home. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so I was ready to go. She said, go ahead, here's some money, deliver the food to the children. Thank you for your help.
Did you have to pick up the food?
Yes.
Okay, she gave you money.
The drive-thru, sat in the drive-thru, ordered the food, drove to her house.
So is what you're telling me that you did not volunteer?
No, I was going home and then canceled, and I said, okay, I'm on my way home anyway.
Oh, so step back. Did you order food
I
to send
did,
to your
and
kids?
it did not go through.
Okay, so you ordered food to get there, and this was lunchtime.
Correct.
And how did you find out that they canceled?
They sent me a notification to my phone.
To your phone?
Correct.
And what time was that?
1 o'clock, 1:15.
Had you already taken your lunch break?
No, ma'am. Most days I do not.
So you're in the store all day?
I am.
Well, then it would seem to me she had to find out that they canceled because you said that they sent the note to you.
We work right next to one another.
I know, she wasn't looking over at your phone.
Right.
She wasn't looking over at your phone. If you work right next to each other, common sense would dictate you said something, oh, whatever. Well, what expletive you used, they canceled my order.
Correct.
Could you take stuff to my kids for lunch?
I was going to do it. She offered.
I want you to tell me exactly what you said. You stay in the store all day. Now you thought about it and you thought about your defense and you did in fact, according to you, just remember something because here's $20. Would you take the food, drop it off with the children? And in addition, voila, you said to her,
please do not go in my house. My dog is aggressive.
Mila Bazin claims her former employer, Sarah Adams, owes for injuries from a dog bite. Sarah is countersuing for harassment and slander.
I want you to tell me exactly what you said. You stay in the store all day.
Yes.
Okay.
But on
and
this
she was ready to leave.
No, so she was leaving for her lunch.
No.
I was going to leave and take the kids' food. Mila stated she wanted to go out of the store. She needed a break. So I told her, okay, if you want to clock out and take your lunch, if you will do this for me, I will give you an extra $20 for gas. She said, okay, no problem. So it was doing me a favor.
That's what I want you to say.
Yes.
She was doing me a favor because I wanted to get my 16-year-old lunch that she couldn't get for herself.
Correct.
Right. That she couldn't walk around the corner and get for herself, or open the freezer and put in a toaster. Right?
Right.
Okay. So you had one of your subordinates go to your house and deliver the food. That's the bottom line. You had one of your subordinates, because you were in the store where you stay all the time, you had one of your subordinates, gave her $20, here's a little gas money for you, go pick up the food and bring it to the house. By the way, your 16-year-old doesn't get around?
No, she's not driving it.
She walks?
Correct, but I don't like my children to leave the house.
In the middle of the day, 1 o'clock?
Correct.
Okay.
Not in this world that we live in.
Okie dokie. Anyway, here's $20. Thank you. Did you say anything else to her?
No.
Has she ever been to your house before?
Not at that time, no.
Prior to giving her money and say, could you pick up the food and drop it off, she had not been to your house before.
Correct. I did state to her before she left.
Just a second. She had not been to your house before.
Correct.
Now you thought about it and you thought about your defense, and you did, in fact, according to you, just remember something, because here's $20. Would you take the food, drop it off with the children? And in addition, voila, you said to her,
please do not go in my house. My dog is aggressive.
And that's why
I did tell her to call me when she got there. I would call my daughter, have her go out and get the food. And Your Honor, I do have a video of my Ring doorbell of what happened.
I'm going to watch that.
Okay.
Because what happened was there was a lot of food, according to what I've read. It needed
3 children.
It needed 2 trips. Daughter took in some, she took the other, and she was bitten by your pit bull.
Correct, but I told her, do not go in my house.
And she was bitten by your pit bull?
Yes, in my home.
She wasn't trespassing in your house, madam. She wasn't burglarizing your house. She was bitten by your pit bull. That's what the case is about.
She was told not to go into my house.
If I believe you.
I have evidence.
I'm going to look at it.
Okay.
If I believe you, whether I believe you or not, she was bitten in your house by your dog. How old is your pit bull?
7 years old.
Where did you get her?
From the pound.
So you went to get food. You took your car and you went to get food. And you picked up how many bags of food for the 3 children?
There's at least, I think, 2 bags, or 1 big bag, and then 2 drinks. 3 drinks in total. I had to carry 1 drink back in behind April. I should have waited in the car. But
now, why should you have waited in the car? Why?
Now that I've been bitten, I say that.
Well, what would have made you think that you should be waiting in the car?
No reason.
Did Miss Adams say to you when you left?
No, Your Honor.
Text me when you get there, my daughter will come out?
Yes, to make it easier for me, but not because she told me she had a killer dog.
Did she tell you she had any dog?
No. I knew of one little dog, her little Mookie, her baby Chihuahua dog.
Your Honor, I bring a dog with me to work every day.
That you just got while I was working there.
Just a second. Don't interrupt. She said she knew of one little dog, a Pekingese. That's all you knew about.
I knew of her Chihuahua at the time. The Pekingese came later. She inherited her dad's dog, but all I knew of was her little Mookie Chihuahua. I also have a Chihuahua. I thought we both had Chihuahuas. I would not go to anyone's house if they had a killer pit bull. Pit bulls, period.
Okay, you picked up the food, you got to the house. What did you do?
April came out to the car, grabbed what she could. I had the remainder drink. I got up and followed Miss April inside the house. Once we got to the door.
Is April the 16-year-old?
Yes.
That's you.
Mm-hmm. Once she stepped inside, I stepped in behind her. She turned around to grab it, and the dog was right there.
Step up.
Bit my leg.
Okay. April, do you have friends?
Yeah.
Do they drive?
No.
None of them?
No.
And do you live in a rural area, or are there stores there?
There's some stores down
What
2
kind?
streets.
Yeah, what kind of stores?
A grocery store.
Yeah. So if you wanted to and you were hungry, you would have gone to the grocery store and gotten something for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm is not an answer.
Yes.
So on that day, let me make sure what day we're talking about here. July 18th. On July 18th, you and your siblings were home for the day?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me about the conversation you had with your mother about ordering lunch.
My siblings were hungry, and wanted something new. So I asked my mother.
You called your mother at work?
Yes, I called my mother at work to ask if she can order some food.
What time did you call your mother?
It was around 1.
And that's all you said to her? And what did your mother say?
She said, yeah.
She said yes, but she must have also said, what do they want? I mean, they didn't want to go to the grocery store, so she said, what do you want?
She said, I can order McDonald's, and I said, that's fine.
She said, I can order McDonald's, and?
And I said, that's great, that's okay, thank you for doing that.
Okay. Now, she called you later to tell you that they had canceled the order.
Yes.
Hmm?
Yes.
Yes. And what did she say when she said they canceled the order?
She said that Mila was coming over to drop off the food, and she already told her about...
No, don't make things up as we're going. Be very careful when you talk to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She said Mila is on her way over with the food.
Yes.
Now, Mila came over, she pulled her car up in front of your house.
Yeah.
And did you see her pull the car up in front of the house?
Yes.
Okay, did you come outside?
Yes.
Come on. Came outside. Did she get out of the car? We're going to go step by step. She got out of the car?
No.
She stayed in the car?
Yes.
And you took a bag?
I took all I could, 2 bags and a drink.
Okay, but that wasn't all the food there was?
Yes. I told her I would come back for the rest.
Did she say that to you?
No, Your Honor.
I didn't hear you say to her when she turned around, stay out there. I didn't hear you say that to her. Do you understand? I didn't hear you, and I heard everything. Say that to her. She had one drink that she was going to give you, and she actually leaned over to give it to you.
Mila Bazin is accusing her former employer, Sarah Adams, of refusing to pay for injuries caused by her pit bull. Sarah claims Mila already agreed to a $300 settlement.
Now, she got out of the car?
No.
She stayed in the car?
Yes.
And you took a bag?
I took all I could, 2 bags and a drink.
Okay, but that wasn't all the food there was?
Yes. I told her I would come back for the rest.
Did she say that to
No,
you?
Your Honor. I was just nice and got out of the car and followed her.
Yeah, you didn't have that much of a discussion. It doesn't make sense that you had that much. So there was a drink left?
Yes.
So she was walking in following you with the 1 drink?
Mm-hmm.
No.
She didn't follow you into the house with the 1 drink?
Not until later.
What do you mean not until later? What happened in between the fact that you grabbed the food and 2 drinks, there was a drink left, now she's out of the car?
I didn't realize she was out of the car. I thought she would stay on the car. So I'm walking over to the house to open the door.
Okay. Now, I want you to point to some place in this room where the car was and where your front door was. Make believe I'm the car. Point to some place in this room. If it has to be more, you can say it's twice that distance. Twice the distance from the front and the back of the courtroom, or half the distance, or it's the same distance. How far is it from the car to your house?
The car was right here, and our door...
No, I'm the car.
Yeah.
And how far away is front door?
About right here, not that far away.
Where?
Where those...
So maybe 20 feet.
Yes.
Now I'm going to look at your video.
Got it? Give me a towel. I'm so sorry. Give me a towel, hurry.
I didn't hear you say to her when she turned around, stay out there. I didn't hear you say that to her. Do you understand? I didn't hear you, and I heard everything. Say that to her. She had one drink that she was going to give you, and she actually leaned over to give it to you as you were in the door. I didn't hear you say anything to her. Stay outside, don't come near here. That's a long walk. I didn't hear you. Is that because you didn't say it?
No, before the video, when I went to get, she was inside.
Oh, we're going to hear it again. We're going to go right from the beginning. I heard you speak to your brothers, open the door, food's here. I heard that. I didn't hear anything else. I may have missed it. We're going to play it again. You turn around, you saw her walking in after you. Okay. Anyway, Ms. Bazin, as a result of this dog bite, according to you, you had some serious medical issues. It became infected, couldn't work for a period of time. Do you have any of the medical records?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at them.
I have them, the bill and the records. You want just the records?
Yeah, both.
Color coordinated by paper clips.
Does the job that you had give you health insurance?
So I have access with Arizona, and they pay up a percentage of it, but not everything.
Do you have what is left over that is your
So they wouldn't give me until the end of the year, I guess, but that's what they billed me, and they keep calling me every day saying I have.
Your Honor, I have a text message from Mila saying that she had unlimited health insurance
That's what
and
I
they can
thought
bill
I-
her for whatever she wants. I would like
before I
to
knew I
present
was
that
going
for you.
into surgery.
Let's try not to talk to each other.
Also, Mila went to the hospital 4 times, and I have records of all of that and what they did each time per her text messages.
Yeah.
And I have pictures of the bite when it happened if you'd like to see that as well.
She has it. You don't have to prove her case. I'm sure you have pictures.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sure. How long were you on antibiotics?
For at least almost like 2 months off and on. I had to go back multiple times and have it aspirated.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, got infected. Do you rent or own your own home, Miss Adams?
I rent it.
You have renter's insurance?
I do.
Did the renter's insurance that you have, is the company aware of the fact that you had a pit bull?
Yes, and it is extremely hard to find a place to rent with a pit bull.
No, I didn't ask you that. I asked you whether your insurance, your renter's insurance, had a provision that excluded the insurance from a pit bull bite.
I do not recall, no.
What state do you live in?
Arizona.
What's the name of the company?
It's through our insurance. On the car, I'm not 100%.
Did you notify them of this dog bite?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Because she even said it was her fault.
It wasn't her fault. It was your fault. You had the dangerous animal.
How is it my
Guys,
fault?
just a
I
second.
told her not to go in my house.
Don't ask me any questions, madam, and I'm going to tell you something. Based upon that video, there's no indication that you told her, don't go into my house.
I told her at work.
Listen to me. Based upon what I saw, if you knew that you had a dog that was territorial and she shouldn't go into the house, then you, when you speak to your daughter who was too lazy to go to the grocery store, say to her, I have one of my employees that I'm sending with your food, which is exactly what happened. You would have said to her, make sure that you take the stuff from the car, and she wouldn't have, unless she's an idiot, she wouldn't have, when she saw the plaintiff coming up with the extra drinks, she would have said, do me a favor, just stay out here, put them down on the shelf where I put the other drinks. Don't walk into the house. She said nothing. She walked into the house and, in effect, held the door open so that she could deliver the other 1 or 2 drinks for your children. That's what happened.
To be, Brianna Sloniker is suing her buyer, Charity Hoovener, for the cost of a golden retriever puppy.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2188, Slaniger versus Hoovener.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Saniker, is this your boyfriend?
Hi, yes. This is my boyfriend and the father of our 2-year-old child.
Okay, you could stand up with her. In addition to a 2-year-old child, you also had 2 dogs. Where were you living at the time of this incident?
So we were living in our house.
In your house where?
In Radford, Michigan.
Do you own the house or rent it?
We rent it.
Are you still living there?
Yes, we are.
Do you work?
No,
You're not, the answer is no.
I am a writer. I'm also 2 months pregnant too, so.
The question is, do you work and make a living?
Yes.
At what?
Writing.
Okay. Who do you write for?
Myself, self-publishing.
Well, how much money did you make last year self-publishing?
Zero.
Zero.
Yeah.
So the answer is, you don't work and you don't make any money. And what about you, boyfriend?
I currently, at the moment, am a custodian for the Hills School District.
Okay, and how much do you earn?
I earn $16.50 an hour.
And what's your rent?
It's $14.45.
Who pays it? There's no question you don't.
He does.
I do.
Impossible. Not $16 an hour.
Our brother currently lives with
my
brother lives with us as well, so we have a roommate. That's how we pay for it.
And he pays some of the rent?
Yes.
Is your rent current?
Yes.
And you have a car?
I do.
So you have car and insurance. You have a car. Well, somehow you're very economical. Now, you had 2 dogs. You had financial hardship, according to your complaint, and you could no longer take care of the dogs. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What kind of dogs were they?
Our 1-year-old dog named Courage. He is a Border Collie, an Australian Shepherd mix.
He's a Border Collie?
Yes.
Where did you get him from?
We got him from a breeder back in 2021. It was probably December 2nd of 2021.
And what was the other dog?
The other dog, her name was Danny. She was a purebred golden retriever puppy that we had purchased October 7th, 2022. Yeah.
Okay. Now, how much did you pay for the Border Collie?
We paid $500 for the Border Collie.
I'm still figuring out how you're all budgeting. And how much did you pay for the Golden Retriever?
We also paid $500 for the Golden Retriever.
Where did you get the money from?
A tax return.
So let me understand this. You have a 2-year-old baby?
Yes.
You have a 2-year-old baby. You got tax returns from the only income from the house, which is his, where he earned $16 an hour. And what you did was you spent $1,000 of your tax return on 2 dogs. I just am clarifying that in my own mind. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be a right. Okie dokie. When you could no longer either physically and or financially take care of the dogs, you put an ad on the internet. What part of the internet?
We put the ad on Craigslist and Hoobly.
Craigslist and?
Hoobly.
It's like another Craigslist type online.
You have a copy of the ad?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see them. Okay, so you put ads for both dogs. One, you said small rehoming fee, not a breeder, needs a new home, call for details. The other is the 1-year-old Border Collie Aussie mix, and you had rehoming fee of $200.
Yes.
Okay, this says absolutely nothing about fostering short term, you get the dogs back, nothing. And no other criteria in here.
Yes.
Nothing. So this is your complaint. The defendant answered your ads. You brought the 2 dogs over to her. She gave you $100.
Yes.
Yes. You left the 2 dogs with her. You were on your way back to wherever you lived, in the car, and according to you, you had a change of heart.
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
And you called her and you said to her, we're coming back.
Yes.
How long did that process take you?
It was within the 2 hours we had left.
So within 2 hours, you called her and said, I changed my mind.
Yes.
And what did she say to you?
She had said that she had given the dog away.
One of them?
One of them, yeah.
Okay. She said, I gave the dog away. Did she tell you to whom? Did she tell you what circumstances? Did she tell you?
She said that she had given the dog to a lady named Cindy, and she mentioned that she gave this Danny to...
You have text messages? Is what you're reading from text messages?
Yeah, yeah.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a text in the evening, and she says to you, my friend is traveling back to Tennessee now with my friend Cindy. Now, you went back to the house and you picked up one of the dogs.
Yes.
Courage. And did you give her back the $100?
No.
That's either yes or no.
No.
Why not?
Brianna Sleneker claims her buyer, Charity Hoovener, wrongfully gave away a golden retriever after promising to keep the puppy.
Now, you went back to the house and you picked up one of the dogs.
Yes.
Courage. And did you give her back the $100?
No.
That's either yes or no.
No.
Why not?
Because she kept the other dog, Danny, which was a purebred golden retriever. The condition was to have both dogs together.
Okay, show me where that is. Show me something in writing where that was a condition. It certainly wasn't in your ad. It certainly wasn't in your ad, which just said you needed to find new homes for both your dogs.
It was.
Did you ever say anything to the defendant about getting a better offer for the golden retriever?
No.
Yes.
Did you ever say anything to the defendant, either on the phone or in a text, that you believed that you could get more for the golden retriever because you had paid $500 for it as a puppy? This was just a couple of months later. It was still a puppy. I'm asking you, did you say anything to her about being able to get more money for her?
No, I did not. We want our dog back because of our other dog, Courage. And
what makes you think you can have the dog back?
Well,
you made a deal. She paid you $100. You took the $100. You didn't return the $100 to her. One of the dogs was already rehomed to yet another person. She gave you the dog back. She gave you one back, despite the fact that you didn't give her any money. Why do you think that this is a deal that you can say, well, I changed my mind? What makes you?
Because it wasn't a verbal condition to keep the dogs together.
Absolutely not.
Shh.
Sorry.
It was a verbal condition to keep the dogs together. They were a bonded pair, and she said that if we wanted to, we could.
In what month did you sell the dogs to the defendant?
It was December 4th, 2022.
12/4. Now, you got, according to you, the golden retriever in October of 2022. So you had, at most, the dogs together for 2 months.
Yes.
Yes. Well, that's not a bonding experience. How old was the golden retriever?
She was 2 months old when we got her.
So she was 4 months old?
Yes.
Well, you certainly could have gotten more than $100 for her. She must have been really desperate for that $100.
I really just want my dogs together.
Well, they're not together. Then you should have thought of that before you put ads here. You changed your mind. That's it. You changed for whatever reason. You felt sad in the car going home, or she's going to tell me that you had a conversation with her that involved money.
No.
I'm ready. All I want to know from you at this point is, and it's really not dispositive of this case, but it was in your answer. Did you ever have a conversation after she dropped the dogs off about money?
Yes.
Tell me about the conversation. When was it? Was it in the car? Or
it was by my door, by my side door.
When? At what point in this? When they came back? Or
when they came back, she said, I got offered a lot more money for this dog. I think you're a scam artist. Yeah. And I want what's due. I want the rest of my money.
What the rest of your money?
No.
I don't know.
No, Your Honor, no.
Never said that.
Yes. She got offered more money, Your Honor.
She certainly could have gotten more for this golden retriever. She certainly could have gotten more money for the golden retriever than the $100 that you gave her for both dogs.
Yes, for both.
But she accepted the $100 and she never returned the $100. That's it. Finished. What?
Your Honor, I wanted to keep Courage, and my friend here, Cindy, took Danny.
Oh, so you have the other dog?
I do, yes.
I have the other dog. Well, step up. So you were going to Tennessee?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Tell me about the conversation that you had with Ms. Hoovener.
Yes.
On the date that they dropped the dog off.
Okay. She had called me and let me know that
first of all,
I believe is her name, was going to drop the dogs off.
When did you have this discussion?
That was on the 4th, on December 4th, 2022. She called me, I would be guessing, I don't know, I'm going to say maybe 5 in the afternoon, and told me that, I think her name's Brianna, was going to be dropping the dogs off.
For $100.
For $100, and she asked me, "Do you have, $100?" And I said, "Well, sure."
So you gave her $100.
I gave her $100 to give, yes.
Brianna.
And I was waiting, and she was running just a little late. We was going to Tennessee. We had to get diapers and stuff. So I left $100 with Charity, and I said, just in case she comes while I'm gone, you have the money to give her, and I'll come back when, we're done shopping to get the dog.
Okay. Now, when had you discussed with her the $100 for both dogs?
Over the phone, Your Honor.
Tell me about the conversation.
The conversation went, we had discussed the 100 for both Courage and
Do you have
Danny.
that in texts?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Not all of them, just
not all of it.
Just the one that she's asking about.
Yeah. How is the dog?
She's doing really good. Yeah, I got her to the vet. She's growing. Oh, she 2 weeks ago was her last shots, and she's already 41 pounds. She's just growing like a weed. Yes, yes.
Okay, I'm going to read this to you. I am trying hard to come up with $100 more, dear. I have 100. And you respond to her, okay, we're just going to have to feed them bread until somebody buys them. Then she answers you, I will come up with the rest. You were just feeding these puppies bread?
Brianna Sloneker is accusing her buyer, Charity Hoovener, of giving away a golden retriever hours after purchasing the puppy.
Now, you respond to her, okay, we're just going to have to feed them bread until somebody buys them. You were just feeding these puppies bread? That's what you wrote here. Who wrote this, you or him?
I wrote it.
And I would assume that your life circumstance hasn't changed. You're still not working, and he's still working for $16 an hour.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And at that point, back in December, what you said was, I can only afford, in effect, I can only afford to feed them bread until somebody buys them. What's changed in your life? What's changed in your life financially that you think that you should be able to stretch your budget to feed so far a 40-pound dog and the other one? What's changed? Nothing. Ridiculous people.
I was jobless at the time.
Kenyon was jobless at the time, Your Honor.
What?
Yes.
He was jobless in December.
Yes.
You still took your tax returns and bought a dog for $500. Duh. She says to you, they are both really fantastic dogs. And you respond, absolutely they are. It was a nice chapter to have them. Now their fate is with you or wherever their life journey takes them. Glad you have them now. That's what you wrote.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. I'm probably going to fall madly in love. Anyway, then you changed your mind, and they reached out to Pause Organization and had a chat about last night. Your suspected buyer is being rude to us, and we want our dog back. What's a Pause Organization? What is that?
When we had met her at her house, I was a little uneasy about giving her the dog and taking in consideration the area we live in Metro Detroit. There's a lot of dog fighting there, so I had to be sure that she was trustworthy. So she had mentioned to me that she is a part of the Pause Organization, which is a animal-friendly organization.
Okay. Oh, yeah. You say, now you want the dog back, and you say, option A, you pay us our asking price for the dog. What was your asking price? This is after you already got the $100. Okay. So now, after you got the $100, left the dogs with her, what was your asking price? What was your asking price?
The value of her.
What was the asking price? It's your words.
I'm a little confused. I'm sorry.
Option A, you pay us our asking price for Danny. Or option B, we call our lawyers and take you to court.
Yes, I at the time wanted her to repay the remaining balance of Danny, how much we had bought her for, $500.
So you wanted more money for the dog?
Yes.
Okay, well, you can't have it. You've already made your bargain. Your case is dismissed. We're done here. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I think that there's a lot of evidence, a lot of things that was left out and unsaid.
I thought the judge's decision was fantastic.
I just feel like everything wasn't said properly. That's probably on our part. I don't think it was necessarily fair, but that's her decision.
Cindy and I wanted the best interest in these dogs.
It just didn't feel right, so immediately we went back to get the dogs and keep them and bring them home.
It was about money.
Just stick it out next time. Don't trust everybody.
I just feel as if these dogs were not taken care of.
I hope she does have a good home.
You know, the sadness of that whole case to me, Sarah, is the mindlessness of these two young people. I don't know where they got the $500 during that 2-year period, an extra $500 to pay for each dog. I can only speculate. When I speculate, I say to myself, based upon my common sense, neither one of them look like they're robbing a store.
No.
So I have to say to myself, you know who bought them those dogs? The president. Because the only time you get that kind of chunk of money was it your stimulus or extended something. But even if it's extended unemployment, because he was unemployed, you have $1,500 a month in rent, you have a car, you have insurance, you have a 2-year-old baby. What kind of thought process goes into buying 2 expensive dogs?
And
Want
big
a dog?
dogs.
And big dog. Well, one of them was a big dog. One of them was a substantial sized dog. Then you have a 2-year-old baby, and you're going to feed the dogs bread. So what do? You have another baby. That makes sense. Makes perfect sense. And I guess I get so excited about it because based upon my history, it's always the children that end up suffering.
I knew you were going there. And it's true.
Yeah.
You're feeding a dog bread and think that that's an appropriate way to take care of an animal and trying to get it off your plate. The first thing I would be doing is making sure I didn't sign up for another child financially, responsibility-wise.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do? Cut the baby's formula with water so that you can stretch it? I mean, they both look like they could use a good meal. I don't understand. I just don't understand the thought process. And it's always the innocents that suffer because even the dogs are innocents. Clearly, the babies, but clearly the dogs are innocents. You know, they just want to be fed and have a home with, you're not a 4-month-old puppy eating bread until they can find somebody that can give them something more nourishing. It's absolutely outrageous and irresponsible and tragic. That's what I think. Life isn't getting any different from what it was 40 years ago. It just stays the same.
Well, at least the golden retriever is in a good home, goes to the vet, hopefully is getting fed real dog food. So there's a bright side or a silver lining in the end of that. So.
Right. If you could just find reasonable parents to take.
जिस तरीके से मैंने आपको बताया कि मैं हर वीडियो में मुख्तलिफ बताऊंगा, तो इस वीडियो में बताऊंगा कि आप किस तरीके से ब्लॉगिंग करके आप जो है पैसे कमा सकते हैं और वो भी मोबाइल की मदद से। तो ब्लॉगिंग करना भी एक जो है फ़न है और ये भी यूँ समझ लें कि आप एक जॉब कर रहे हैं। जिस तरीके से लोग वीडियोस बनाते हैं, ब्लॉगिंग करते हैं, इसी तरीके से लोग ब्लॉगिंग भी करते हैं। ब्लॉगिंग और ब्लॉगिंग में यूँ डिफरेंट है कि आप जो है ब्लॉगिंग में लाइफस्टाइल दिखा रहे होते हैं या जो भी आप कर रहे होते हैं वो दिखा रहे होते हैं और ब्लॉगिंग में ये होता है कि आप लिख रहे होते हैं। तो जिस तरीके से अखबार या बाकी न्यूज़पेपर के अलावा बुक्स होती हैं, इस तरीके से कंटेंट लिखते हैं वहाँ पे और उनको जो है फिर बाद में परफॉर्म किया जाता है। इसी तरीके से जो है आप लिख के भी पैसे कमा सकते हैं। ब्लॉगिंग का मतलब ये होता है कि आप लिख के, राइटिंग करके, मतलब आर्टिकल लिख के, लोग जो है आप अगर इंगेज करेंगे इस तरीके से कहानियाँ लिख के, मजमून लिख के, थोड़े थोड़े जो है चैप्टर जो है लिख के या लोगों के लिए बेनिफिट्स जो है या इन्फॉर्मेशन लिख के आप जब वेबसाइट बनाते हैं, वेबसाइट बनाना, वेबसाइट के ऊपर कंटेंट डालना, मतलब लिख के डालना, ये सारा कुछ जो है ब्लॉगिंग कहलाता है। तो ब्लॉगिंग का मेन मकसद ये होता है कि आप जो है लोगों को जो है इंगेज कराएं और उनकी रिक्वायरमेंट के मुताबिक अगर आप कंटेंट डालते हैं तो फिर आपको जो है अच्छी बेनिफिट जो है मिलता है। तो मैं आपको रिकमेंड करूँगा कि आप अगर लिखना जानते हैं, अच्छा कंटेंट लिख सकते हैं। कंटेंट जो कहते हैं वो आपका जो है यूँ समझ लें कि जो मवाद होता है مواد کو کنٹینٹ کہیں گے، اور آپ اس مواد کو اگر صحیح طریقے سے لکھ سکتے ہیں، صحیح طریقے سے پرفارم کر سکتے ہیں تو آپ اچھی ارننگ کر سکتے ہیں۔ اگر آپ ایک لکھاری ہیں، ایک کنٹینٹ رائٹر ہیں، ایک اچھے لکھنے والے ہیں، تو آپ کو بلاگنگ ضرور کرنی چاہیے۔ بہت ہی سمپل وے ہوتا ہے، جسٹ آپ نے جو ہے ایک ڈومین بائی کرنی ہوتی ہے، ایک ہوسٹنگ بائی کرنی ہوتی ہے، ایک سال کے لیے کر لیں، 2 سال کے لیے کر لیں، یا 10 سال کے لیے کر لیں، وہ آپ کا خود کا جو ہے اپنا مائنڈ سیٹ ہے جس حساب سے آپ لینا چاہیں۔ تو یہ ہوتا ہے کہ آپ نے جب آپ نے ڈومین اور ہوسٹنگ لے لی، اس کے ساتھ آپ کسی ایک جو ہے ایسی پلیٹ فارم پہ جائیں گے جو کہ آپ کو جو ہے ویب سائٹ بنانا اور اس کو جو ہے طریقے سے لانچ کروانا آسانی سے دیتا ہو، جیسے کہ ویکس ہے، ورڈ پریس ہے، بلاگر ہے۔ اس طریقے سے بہت سارے اور بھی پلیٹ فارم ہیں جو کہ گو ڈیڈی بھی ساتھ اس کے اندر ہے۔ اس کے علاوہ بہت سارے اور بھی جو ہے پلیٹ فارم ہیں جو کہ آپ کو ویب سائٹ بنانے میں ہیلپ کرتے ہیں۔ ویب سائٹ بنانا کوئی اتنا جو ہے ڈیفیکلٹ نہیں ہوتا، کیونکہ آج کل جو ہے کوئی بھی لینگویج یوز نہیں کی جاتی ویب سائٹ بنانے میں۔ بہت سارے لوگ ابھی بھی جو ہے وہ مختلف لینگویجز کو یوز کرتے ہوئے ویب سائٹ جو ہے وہ کریٹ کرتے ہیں، لیکن میں آپ کو ریکمینڈ کروں گا کہ کسی ایسے پلیٹ فارم کو جو ہے یوز کریں جو کہ آپ کو ریڈی ٹو یوز جو ہے ویب سائٹ دے۔ بہت ہی آسان ہوتا ہے بلاگنگ کرنا، کوئی مسئلہ نہیں ہے۔ ورڈ پریس تو دنیا کا سب سے بڑا پلیٹ فارم ہے جس کی مدد سے جو ہے آپ اپنی ویب سائٹ جسٹ 1 سیکنڈ کے اندر ایک ہی کلک کے اوپر آپ بنا سکتے ہیں۔ اور اس کے اندر مختلف ٹیمپلیٹس بھی ہوتے ہیں جن کو آپ یوز کرتے ہوئے اپنی ویب سائٹ کو مزید خوبصورت بنا سکتے ہیں، اور ساتھ ساتھ اس میں جو ہے ایسے ٹولز ہیں کہ آپ ان کی مدد سے جو ہے اپنی ویب سائٹ کو اتنا ایڈوانس اور ہائی لیول بنا سکتے ہیں جس میں آپ جو ہے صرف چند ہزار روپے خرچ کر کے آپ لاکھوں روپے کا جو ہے بینیفٹ حاصل کر سکتے ہیں، اور کسی کو ہائر کرنے کی کوئی ضرورت نہیں ہے، آپ خود ہی یہ سارا کچھ کر سکتے ہیں۔ طریقہ کار میں آپ کو یوٹیوب پہ جو ہے وہ پرووائڈ آپ کو بتاتا ہوں ہوتا ہے، تو آپ یوٹیوب سے جو ہے ہیلپ لے لیا کریں۔ مزید اگر مجھے بولیں گے تو میں آپ کو کمنٹ کے اندر آپ جو بھی مجھے بولے گا کہ یار ہمیں طریقہ کار بتایا جائے تو میں آپ کو طریقہ کار بتاؤں گا۔ میں یہاں صرف ذکر اس لیے کر رہا ہوتا ہوں کہ آپ جو ہے صرف کام کریں تاکہ آپ کو آئیڈیا ہو کہ کون سا پلیٹ فارم جو ہے مونیٹائز اس سے پیسے کمائے جا سکتے ہیں۔ تو ورڈ پریس کے ساتھ جب آپ یہ سارا کچھ لنک کر لیں گے، ہوسٹنگ اور یہ سارا کچھ جیسے ڈومین ہو گئی، تو آپ کی ویب سائٹ تیار ہو جائے گی۔ ویب سائٹ کے اوپر آپ آرٹیکل ڈالیں، اپنا کنٹینٹ لکھتے جائیں، کنٹینٹ یونیک ہو، تو آپ کے پاس ٹریفک ایسی آئے گی کہ آپ اس سے گھر بیٹھے لاکھوں ڈالر جو ہے وہ ارن کر سکتے ہیں۔ کیونکہ جب آپ پرائیویسی پالیسی کو جو ہے وہ فالو کرتے ہیں، چوری کیا ہوا کنٹینٹ نہیں ڈالتے، اپنا کنٹینٹ ڈالتے ہیں، تو پھر تمام وہ پلیٹ فارم جو کہ مونیٹائز ہیں وہ آپ کو پیسے دینے کے حقدار ہیں، وہ جو ہے حق رکھتے ہیں آپ کو پیسے دیں۔ تو آپ کو جسٹ کرنا یہی ہوگا کہ ہمیشہ جینین کام کرنا ہوگا۔ صرف وہی لوگ کامیاب ہوتے ہیں جو کہ جینین کام کر رہے ہوتے ہیں۔ چور اور لٹیرے کبھی کامیاب نہیں ہو سکتے۔ میں آپ کو بتاؤں گا کہ آپ ہمیشہ جو ہے جینین کام کریں تاکہ آپ کو جو ہے بہت زیادہ اچھا بینیفٹ دیکھنے کو ملے۔